out of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You are tuned to Apartment 5B podcast, hosted by your man Kill. I got my squad with me as always. I got my bro JR over there with the Ill Bel Air jersey on. What's going on, fam?
What's going on? What's up?
That's dope, man. Off topic. What did you think about this new Fresh Prince of Bel Air, the reboot? Did you like it?
I like it.
I didn't think I was gonna like it at first, but
I did.
It to me it reminded me of Soul Food. When I saw Soul Food, the series, like it took me a minute to get used to the new characters because you're thinking that ain't Lim and that ain't Terry. But then after a couple of episodes, you kind of get into it. It's like, okay, I'm like, wait, Uncle Phil ain't fat? Like this nigga, you know what I mean? Like Jeffrey Ninja? Like what the fuck? Like where we all do this casting that? But after a minute, I jumped into it. My brother Vague, what's going on, good brother?
It's good, man. That just came in on vinyl. Gonna play that shit after this.
I feel you, good brother. I feel you. I got my brother Rel, Illadelph Steak Life out of Philly. What's going on, fam? And he dips out on us right there at the same time. So, you know what I mean? Probably grabbing a cheesesteak or whatever like that. I got my man Brown sitting in with us for the first time. What's going on, fam?
No, this is like back in the day when your older brother is doing something and then he calls you, lets you sit. Like you've been watching him for a minute. Like, come on, can I sit with you? Can I chill with you? And he's like, nah. Then he finally says, hey, why don't you come on in and hang with us? I'm hanging with the OG today, man. I appreciate the invite, dude.
Oh, man, definitely, man. JR, I tell you, same thing with Ralph. Vegas and me have known each other since 95, but if we chop it up about music and I see you know your shit and everything like that, it was, and me and you was just having too many conversations about Philly to the point where I was like, all right, baby, like, shit, if you in Philly now, like, let's go get a cheesesteak or something real quick. Something like that. Well, y'all know me. Let's jump right into it. This year, today we are talking about the year 1996. Prayerfully, if you've been rocking with us long enough, we've been doing a breakdown of every year, starting with 1988. We look at the top 5 dopest albums, some slept-on albums, who was the dopest MC that year, produced the year, and kind of just talk about the vibe of hip-hop that year. And what I love about these shows is, you know, I've lived through them, but like doing these shows, I'm able to see like, oh, that's when Kane fell off, and that's when this fell off, and that's when this kind of came into play. And you start to see how things like kind of go in and out and everything like that. So that's what we're gonna be chopping up about this week. I'm gonna set us off with 96. I mean, first let's talk about the year. Like, Vay, what did you think about 96 from a hip hop perspective? You know, how many mics do you give 96?
5 off the top. I mean, when, like, you know, but it's not until you go back and look and you like, yo, that was all the same year. And I'm talking about hip hop and R&B. Like, There was just a lot of music and there was a lot going on. You know, classic albums were dropping, Jay-Z debuts. You know what I'm saying? Tupac drops 2 albums in the same year and they both hit #1. Like, it's just a crazy year. Nas comes back off of Illmatic. Like, It's just a crazy year for music. And at the time, you know, you don't realize it because you're in it, right? But it was just such a dope time. And the music kind of represented how active the artists were. So
Right. All right, JR, what about you? How many mics you giving 96?
Ooh, as far as R&B too, man, 95 was strong, 96 was strong too, so I'll probably have to give it, I'll give it a 4.5. I give it a 4.5.
You give it 4 and a pass. I feel you. Brian, what about you? How many mics you giving 96?
Definitely 5, because a lot of great debuts. You know, top, like probably one of my favorite albums of all time. Reasonable Doubt came out in '96, so it's like that's the end all be all. It starts with that, and then you see like who came back, who debuted in '96. Remember that was Nas' second album. You know, that was Fugees came back with a monster '96. You know, so yeah, that's like 5 mics easily.
Yeah, and I got 5 mics on it too. Like I said, a lot of times these 90s years were so crazy. You know, just from doing 93 to 96, you could almost say that's just 3 years back to back 5 mic albums just coming out all the time. So, you know, 96, I felt like was right there with it. All right, I'm gonna set it off. JR, my apologies, bro. I was in Philly all week helping my pop. I only got hip hop. I know you killed me the last time.
Oh no, you good.
I didn't even realize it till just now. Like,
oh, I got R&B under control.
All right, you got the R&B under control.
You good.
All right, let me start off. We can just go around. We'll do all 5. First joint I got up is like my man Brown said, Reasonable Doubt. It's one of those albums that I love from the jump. I know I've heard from a lot of people that it had to grow on them over time. Veg, I think you said that with Reasonable Doubt and everything like that. But I mean, I loved it just from the door, the Jay swag. I mean, I think ever since I heard the 12-inch for God, my brain, this 49-year-old brain.
Was it Ain't No or
Nah. Even in this lifetime, in my lifetime. Ever since I heard the 12-inch in my lifetime, my man Roots came through 889 and played it. And it was just like, oh shit, this nigga ain't doing the diggity flow. This dude talking about drugs, he moving. I'm like, oh, okay, Jay, I feel you. And then seeing video for Dead Presidents, it was just like, yeah, like, yo, I'm hyped for this. And then just the producer in me loved it, because you're talking about Ski Beats in 96, which was one of my favorite producers, Premier, you know, Clark Kent. You know, just the lineup he had production wise was crazy. So Reasonable Doubt. Next up, it was written. You know what I mean? I know a lot of backpackers, a lot of boom bappers, backpackers, however you want to break it down, despise this album. But yo, I absolutely loved it was written. And again, I always put the caveat on it like this. Since I was at 889, I got the advanced copy of it. I didn't know who did it or anything like that. So I'm listening to it. I'm like, yo, this is dope. I'm like, watch them niggas. I'm like, yo, I'm in my mom's basement trying to think in my mind, like, okay, who produced what? And I'm like, yo, Large Pro may have done this, watch these niggas, you know. And, you know, I'm like, when I heard Shootouts, I was like, oh, this is fucking RZA killed this beat, you know. So to my shock, when I get the final album, I'm like, yo, Trackmasters did all this shit? Like, I was like, oh, shit. Like, you know what I mean? And I was coming from the mindset of fuck the Trackmasters. All y'all do is loop up shit that we all know. But I felt like the Trackmasters kind of killed this album. I mean, in my opinion, I've said this all the time on the timeline. I really honestly believe that if that album said produced by Pete Rock, Premier, Large Professor, Q-Tip, RZA, niggas will be like, yo, it was written 5 mic album. Nas got 2 5 mic albums back to back. But a lot of people don't remember in 96 saying produced by the Trackmasters was like it was just the worst thing that could happen. It was like, yo, like these are the dudes who are ruining hip hop. So I feel like all the backpackers saw produced by the Trackmasters, they was like, nah, shit is trash. And truth be told, I may have been in the same bag too. But like I said, because I got the advance and I didn't know who did what, you know, I actually gained a lot of respect for the Trackmasters after that. So it was written, AT-Aliens, you know, Outkast. Like, dog, I was living in Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta in the January 97, so right at the top of 97. Bro, when I tell you the whole city was playing this album, I can't even explain to you the mood of just the whole city playing it out. Everywhere you went, car wash, downtown, bus stop, wherever, every car driving by, everybody was just playing AT-Aliens. So again, incredible album. Hell on Earth, to me, Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I think this was like Havoc's coming out party. You know, I love the Infamous, but Tip had his hands in production and things over there, whereas I felt like Hell on Earth, that was just all Havoc. And then my number one album for 96, and again, it's the Philly in me, Illadelph Half-Life. You know what I mean? It's literally, I literally was just digging with Naomi and just grabbed this joint the other day because I didn't have the vinyl. Had to get this joint right here on vinyl. 5 mic album to me. It's the top 5 album of the entire 90s. to me. To me, it's just so much dope stuff on this album. I didn't like the Roots. Do You Want More? I mean, it was cool. It was cool. I just wasn't a fan. It was too light in the ass for me. All that no samples and all that sing-songy I Shall Proceed. I was like, I'm not feeling this shit. And then when they sent us the Geffen was doing a thing, and they was like, yo, here's the 2 singles. We stuck between Sections and Clones, and all the radio people had to vote. I voted Sections, of course I lost. But when I heard Clones, I was just like, yo, this is not them niggas. Like, if the last time you heard the Roots was Silent Treatment, and the next time you heard them was Clones, it was like 2 totally different groups. And this is what I wanted from the Roots. And it was almost a precursor. I've always said Tribe and the Roots kind of walked the same line with me, at least, because I wasn't a big fan of People's Instinctives. It was cool. When I say I'm not a fan of something, it doesn't mean I didn't like it. I just wasn't like really checking for them. So
Thank you. Say that again.
Yeah, I gotta say it, because people were like, damn, you ain't fuck with them. Like, nah, it's just I wasn't like, oh, okay, when the next Tribe gonna come, or when the next Roots gonna come. But then I heard Check the Rhyme, and I was like, oh. And then I heard Clones, and I was like, oh. I remember being on the first People Tribe album. I was like, yo, what this dude Fife here for? He don't even do nothing. You know, same thing with Malik. I'm like, yo, you can make a nerd say he's superb. Like, then boom, Fife come with Butter. Malik come with No Great Pretender, you know, and then they follow up that second album with Midnight Marauders and Things Fall Apart. So to me, they just kind of followed in that same realm. So, and then on top of that, Philadelphia was the first time all my New York niggas finally gave some Philly MCs their props, man. Like, dead ass. Like, it literally was like, niggas was like, yo, man, your man Black Thought is nice. It was like, thank God. I've been fucking dealing. Again, I used to spend every summer in Brooklyn with my cousins. They would just be killing me. But y'all corny, y'all MCs is corny. Jazzy Jeff, parents don't understand, man. Y'all corny. So, you know, three times dope kind of kicked in the door a little bit. You know what I mean? But when this joint came out, I felt like the NYC people was like, all right, y'all official now. You know what I mean? So those are my top 5 from 96. Gerald, what about you?
All right, you want hip hop or R&B or both?
You can do both.
All right. Well, then I'll start with R&B first. All right. Number 5 is coming with Drew Hill. I just remember getting this joint on bootleg, and I was like, yo, let me listen to these Detroit dudes that's jumping high in their video. I was like, oh, let me
Detroit dudes, they Baltimore dudes.
I'm in Baltimore. I said Detroit.
I like Detroit.
Blame it on this. I'm sorry.
I understand, bro. I understand. I'm trying to keep you, bro. I'm trying to keep you safe out here. Baltimore don't play with Drew Hill. They want
at
Drew
all.
Hill. Baltimore don't got a lot, so give them Drew Hill, man.
It was so crazy because then I was like, yo, I'll never move out there because if these niggas jumping like that, I ain't doing this, and I'm out here now. Ain't that crazy? But so I got they joint, and like they first joint, like Nothing to Prove. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. But then after Do You Believe all the way down, it was a wrap. Like, this album is so dope. I like the bet. A lot of people go for 112's debut. I like theirs better for me. Not saying that 112 is whack, but I just like Drew Hill's better to me. You know what I mean? That's my number 5. Number 4 is Maxwell. Urban Hang Suite. I mean, he was giving us the Marvin Gaye flavors, and then all the players he had on it. You know what I'm saying? Stewart was on there. You know, he's from the band of Sade. He had Wawa Watson on there, who was part of the Funk Brothers, which that was dope. And then I just liked the story that he told from beginning to end. It was like a whole story, a movie. You know what I mean? So I thought that was dope. And then he was from Brooklyn, so that was dope too. 3 is New Edition's Home Again. All 6, you come back with all 6, and they give you a slamming album like that, and they started off with Hit Me Off. Like, Hit Me Off, I think everybody, they had all ages in my house anyway. Everybody loved it, from me to my grandparents, and it's hard to get them. So you got them jamming with it, we good. But having Jimmy Jam on there, having JD on there, having Chucky Thompson on there, Levert, so they had all these producers on there, but they came with a dope album. To have all 6 of them, dope. 2 would be Aaliyah, One in a Million. I mean, that was a game changer for sure. You know what I mean? Like, she left you know who, and then, you know, then she got with Tim, and he did 7 joints, but shout out to JD, he was on there too, and Rodney Jerkins was on there. A lot of people don't know that. He did the joint with Diane Warren with her other songwriters that wrote them songs. And you had Vincent Herbin on that joint. But it's just they gave Aaliyah a new sound and it was dope. And she flipped it and did her thing with it. And I'm gonna have to say number one is my girls SWV with New Beginning. The girls finally, they had a change in management, had a new A&R, which kind of sucked. But then, you know, they gave Taj and Lily some shine. They were able to sing on the joint. And yeah, so that was the number one joint that I was rocking through the whole year. As far as hip hop, I'm gonna say 5 is Il Nana with Foxy. 4 was Stakes is High with De La Soul. 3 was It Was Written with Nas. 2 was Reasonable Doubt with Jay, and number 1 is The Score with the Fugees.
Right. No doubt. The funny thing about that Aaliyah piece is it's one of the few times when you leave a known producer, because you know Candyman was the biggest thing on the planet Earth at that time,
and
as far
still
as
was.
And leave and go to some nobodies. You know what I mean? Like nobody had ever heard, or at least I hadn't heard of Timbaland like that. You know what I mean? And Missy, and just come with an album that crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and that was the craziest thing to me. I remember being in my man Jose studio and the video for 1 in a Million came on, and we just like froze because it was like, yo, why are the drums doing that? Like, yo, why? Like, it was just like, yo, it was one of those, like, one of the moments where I'm like, I remember where I was, because we all just stopped whatever we was doing in the studio and was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, what are they? So, I mean, just, and it's rare that you see that. It's rare you see I don't even know if it's happened like that before, you know, where you leave your original producer and you get even doper with the next one. It would almost be like CL leaving Pete Rock, get with somebody else and making music that's better than Pete Rock, you know? Or
I mean, Brandy did too.
Who did Brandy leave? Who's the original?
She was with Keith Crouch, and then she was rapping with Rodney. So you know
that's a great point. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing, everybody. I'm a casual R&B listener. Everybody watching, I've been.
Stop. He got all them records back there.
I'm a casual. I didn't know. I didn't really rock with Brandy till the second album. So great point. Great point. So I'm a casual R&B person. That's what JR is here.
You talk about Aaliyah, but the thing about Aaliyah was when I heard 1 in a Million, that was one of those times where I heard the song and I'm like, I'm feeling it. And then I found out who sang it. And I'm like, whoa, that's Aaliyah? That was Aaliyah made this?
Right.
Okay, so let me listen to this album. Then I'm putting the CD on. I'm like, oh, well, she got something like she don't need R. Kelly at all. She's good.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Most people that would be career suicide. You know what I mean? You leaving that person, you know what I mean, and getting with again some nobody, some people. But I always say, I swear, like if you get with some talented people who are trying to do their thing, you are gonna get some shit because they're like, yo, this is my chance to shine. Like I'm gonna give you. You're gonna get the A beats, you're gonna get the A songs, you're gonna get the best that we got to offer because we know what we up against. So now that
it's just coming off Genuine too, though. So that was
and see that was the thing. And again, this is me being a casual. I really didn't get on with that first Genuine album until like after Aaliyah. Like then I came back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because they came out around the same time. I think Aaliyah came out first, but Pony was out for so long. So Timbaland was already getting that buzz already, like, oh, who is this cat? You know what I mean? Even though, like you said, if you're not a line of notes or something, you didn't see him, you didn't pay attention to him on the Jodeci, the after show or whatever that was called. You didn't pay it attention. So Aaliyah really got them boom. You know what I mean? Because Missy was already on the joint with Gina Thompson and all that. So it was like, they had a little buzz, but once Aaliyah came out with that joint, it was like, boom. It put them front stage for real.
Yeah. Babe, what about you? What you got?
All right, I got hip hop and R&B.
All right.
Both albums. I didn't really put them in order, so here's my top 5 hip hop joints. Redman, Muddy Waters. I heard the bootleg first, and I just could not believe that this album was better than the other two, and I love the other two albums. From the skits to the, obviously it's comical ways, but the bars, the beats, just an excellent album. It was one of those albums when I heard it, I already knew it was a classic because it was damn near perfect to me. Nas, it was written. I actually prefer it was written over Illmatic. Nas is a way better MC when we get to it was written. Like he's just on he's on an unbelievable level at this point. So yeah, that album from I Gave You Power, Shootouts, songs like Street Dreams, like it's just so many joints. Affirmative Action, it just was. He was in his bag. He was in his zone. So, very dope album. Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth. Now, I didn't have this when it came out. My sister had it. And at first, it was a little off-putting because the production was different from Infamous. It was a little bit darker. You know what I'm saying? And I think that threw me off. But, man, when you go back today, shit like Godfather Part 3 come on. I'd be in the car like, let me stuck with a block on these niggas. God, I'm not circling nothing. But you know what I'm saying? Like it just gives you that feeling, you know what I'm saying, of just griminess, QB, kind of slept on in some regards. Because I think people talk about the Infamous so much. They forget that like Hell on Earth and Murder Music were also dope albums. So Tupac, Machiavelli. I wasn't the biggest Tupac fan, but when I heard Machiavelli, I was like, damn, this is not. Now, I think Me Against the World is his best album, but Machiavelli was crazy. Like, if he could have been alive for that one, who knows, with the videos, the celebrity, Tupac would be much bigger as an artist off the strength of being around for the release of that album. And just search, like, hearing a song like Hail Mary, as soon as it comes on, like, it has a certain vibe to it, that the same feeling I got from Godfather Part 3, and even the diss record, Against All Odds, like, that's a diss record, Tupac. Hit 'em Up was cool, because it was a little shocking, and when all them get out the way, yo niggas get on, I'm like, turn that shit off. Nobody want to hear it. Only came here for Pac. But Against All Odds is one of the best diss songs ever, because he's not just dissing other rappers, like dissing street dudes, and that shit just made me listen closer. Like, man, Tupac letting all the, all the info out. And lastly, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. I bought it day one because I was a fan of the music that I heard. I think the production threw me off a little bit because it was different. Right, it was a little bit more subdued than most of the cats, like the ones I named that drop music. But man, over time, I had an album's great when you have a favorite every other week. Like your favorite just constantly changes. Like, nah, I think this is my shit, or that's my shit. Politics as Usual is not even like the craziest of the crazy records, but I love that record. I love the vibe. I love his cadence. I love everything he's talking about. It's like, if before they started calling it grown man music or grown and sexy, like that's what them songs sound like. Like, yo, this is the grown man's album. Like, before there was a string of bell, this would be a string of bell, what Jay-Z was doing. So very dope debut from Jay-Z. All right, on the R&B tip, I had Maxwell, Urban Hang Sweet. Quick story, don't worry, Kill, I'm not gonna ruin shit.
Lead at the rail.
Right, Rail took my place.
And we got a Mobb Deep album that I know is gonna make his top 5. So we don't know what story. So like we don't got a Mobb Deep coming. So maybe something else coming too. But what you gonna say, Bag?
I was gonna say in '96, I think it was like the winter or something like that. They had a show. I might have mentioned this on your show before, but on Morgan, they had a show with. You
talking about the Sony one? Maxwell, Fugees, and
Groove Theory.
Oh yeah, y'all talked about that.
So we kind of, me and my friends kind of like worked our way into, help out backstage. So Maxwell was unknown. And when he was warming up, right, when we were in there, we were talking to him. So, once he said he was from Brooklyn, that was it. It's like, why are you from Brooklyn? Blah, 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 right? But when that man started performing, I was like, oh, shit. And when the band, to JR's point, when the band was performing, Yeah. Like I was like, I kept, because we didn't have cell phones, y'all. I kept a mental note of when this album comes out, I'm gonna buy that shit. And I remember, and I'm gonna date myself. I remember, like maybe that summer or spring, whenever it came out, I was in downtown Brooklyn. I went to the Wiz, and lo and behold, right there, Maxwell, and it was $7. This was before the Grammys. It was $7. So I was like, oh, buying that shit. Once he won the Grammy, they took that shit up to 14. But it just was dope to see somebody who was like relatively unknown at that point, and you see their talent and you hear the music, and then you know they win a Grammy, and all of a sudden they the guy. It's like, damn. I don't know about now with them dances and shit. You know, I don't know. I don't like that shit.
Because they don't be thinking he got no up tempos. That's why I be like, y'all are not fans of Maxwell.
Yo, the funny thing is, I have a Maxwell mixtape of just all up tempo.
I remember when they did that. I posted yours. I was like, listen to this. Like, are y'all crazy?
Like you said,
I ain't getting all the dances.
Because Maxwell got a good 80 minutes of just up tempo bangers.
Yes,
and I love.
And Urban Hang Suite starts with an up tempo record. So anybody who says that, it's like, well, you're not a fan because you never heard the debut. Shit, what the so. I have Blackstreet, Another Level. I prefer the first album, but this one.
Thank you, Vag. Thank you.
Yeah, like the first one I loved, but this one I was kind of like, okay, this is different.
Yeah,
it was all right.
Mark Middleton came in with a mission for real.
Absolutely. Angelo debut. Now. The kids watching, you know, we used to make tapes and shit when the ladies would come over. So them
GTD tapes,
right? Them that pick a tape, you know, one of them. The album was kind of perfect to just play. You know what I'm saying?
Just play that joint from the rip.
Right. So I kind of dug it based off of that. Not the ladies part. I'm joking. I'm joking. But. Drew Hill. Now, y'all know I'm a big Jodeci fan. So the first time I heard Cisco, I was like, "This new Jodeci?" Like, because I was hyped there for new Jodeci. Like, wait a minute, that ain't Jodeci. Then to JR's point, I saw the niggas leaping in the video. I'm like, but I could not get past songs like "Sleeping in My Bed." I was like, this shit is high. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
like, I just need to just absorb it for what it is. And them brothers sing. It took a minute for me to realize they was the same dudes that we used to see at the Inner Harbor. At the Fudgery. Yeah. First time I came to Morgan, I walked through there and I was like, God damn, who making chocolate and singing like that? Like, I'd never been around no shit like that. Because y'all think we joking, but the brothers was not. Some of the shit they was doing is probably better than their recorded work because it was just them singing live, and you know they probably were hungry to get on. So that first album's dope. And lastly, Leah, One in a Million. I wasn't a fan of the first album except for like maybe 2 or 3 songs, but to y'all point, to get with Timbaland and some of them beats, I had never heard shit like that before. And she was perfect for it. Like her voice, her cadence, her style. So it just kind of got me, you know, and there was another album that I didn't own, my sister owned, and I just remember listening to that joint all the time. So that's my top 5 R&B and hip hop albums.
Yo, the dope thing too, bro, about that Maxwell show is like, to Vegas' point, man, I think coming to an HBCU in 1996 and being an unknown person, like that shit is like the Apollo. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, yo, we want to see the Fugees, we want to see Group Theory. Who the fuck is this nigga with the crazy hair? You know, but he killed it. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that that's a huge testament to, you know, just how dope an artist can be, where you can, it's hard to get people to sometimes sing the songs that they already know. You know what I mean? Especially at HBCU where niggas be looking straight. Yo, ain't nobody know these songs.
And if you remember back to that day, because I was at Morgan when they had that concert. That was, I believe, the second semester of my sophomore year, and there were plenty of people who did. You know, Maxwell really wasn't received that well. There was a lot of people like, oh, people was booing him. People didn't care, and like you could tell the people who went to the show and saw the show, and then the people who didn't. Now, I will admit, I didn't go to the show. I just heard the stories about it afterwards. Like they had this dude on stage, and he had this wild hair, and he was singing some sort of R&B, and he was corny. So when he came out, I was
that wasn't the vibe of the show.
Yeah. So when he came out, it took me a little bit to warm up to him.
Right.
Like I think I was late on getting that album. I bought the single to Ascension. I bought the single to Ascension because I thought that was dope, and he had a B-side that wasn't on Urban Hang Suite on that single, and I thought that was dope too. So that made me say, all right, let me get this whole album. But you know, you knew the people who went to the show because they was like, I knew Maxwell was dope back in January. Right. You know, here it is. It's almost 97, and now I'm like, all right, let me give this brother a try. And now I'm like, I'm a year late.
Yeah. That show was dope. Though. Brown, what you got for your top 5, bro? All right. Oh, my bad. What you gonna say, JR?
No, I'm just glad that, like he said, he let D'Angelo go up first. That's what I like, because his album was definitely done before D'Angelo's. And
it was he marketed it to let D come out first.
No, he was like, you know what? Let D'Angelo go first, because his album was completely done in 95. It was done. But he was like, I'm so glad D'Angelo went first, so he opened this gate for me to come after him. Because as we all know, like me and Kill, we talk about this often, Brown Sugar did not hit in 95 like everybody think it did. It did not hit until 96. So once that blew and they all had that same manager, Kadar, for him, it was easy for him to now bring Maxwell in. And that's why Maxwell ended up blowing, because if we didn't have D'Angelo giving that vibe, then it would have been hard for Maxwell to come through, and it would have been hard for Erica to come through. So it was good that, you know, D'Angelo came first, though.
You know, one of my biggest regrets, and I'm just really trying to get past it now, is I think being raised a Detroit Pistons Bad Boys fan and hating Michael Jordan planted the seeds in me to always make a competition out of really no competition. Kind of how like I didn't hear Maxwell's album probably until 97, 98. Because I was like, I'm D'Angelo, fuck Maxwell. Like, it was always like this. Like, Jake, I don't know if you remember India, who used to work at the radio station. She used to do the afternoon shift. She was in love with Maxwell, so we would just argue all day over who was better, Maxwell or D'Angelo. And I'm like, D'Angelo, fuck that other nigga. D'Angelo, fuck that other nigga. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's wrong with me that everything is a fucking competition with me. You know what I mean? And if I don't like you, then I don't listen to your music. You know what I mean? So I had heard, you know, of course, something, but after that Love Jones remix, the something, the slow joint, that's what pulled me in. I was like, all right, fuck that. I gotta tap in now. After this joint, I gotta tap in. Like, but something's just fucking wrong with me, man. I'm just getting past it now, where it's like, you know, like even with Pac and them, I ain't probably hit Machiavelli till the 2000s, like, because I was just so fuck that nigga, Biggie. I'm riding with Biggie, fuck that nigga. I'm not listening to no Pac shit. Like, I just probably heard Me Against the World probably about 5 or 6 years ago for the first time. You know what I mean? That ass. In my head, I'm like, nigga, in my crazy fucked up head, Big is my man. Like, nigga, you just, like, I'm from Brooklyn now all the fucking such. Like, I'm like, nigga, yeah, just Brooklyn, what is wrong with you? So, and it was just that whole East Coast, West Coast. It's like, again,
but that's refreshing, because I feel like people don't admit that, especially when it comes to Pac. And I say that to people now because I see it with Pac, and we're seeing it now in sports with Kobe, where it's like there were people.
Everybody loves
that. Yeah, everybody. As soon as Pac died, everybody loves him. Like there was no, like you were hot and cold on Pac. You either loved Pac or you hated Pac. And like I was with you. I wasn't just all Biggie. I was all East Coast. I fell for the East Coast, West Coast beef hard.
Yeah,
I don't care about nothing on the West Coast. I hate the West Coast. Don't give me none of that death row stuff. Don't give me nothing, nothing.
Dog, it was so bad for me. When the All-Star game, I'm like, fuck the West Coast. I don't give a fuck about them. Like, it was that bad. This transcended to the NBA, where I was like, yo, fuck the niggas. East Coast. Like, again, am I fucked up? But it's good to hear, Brown, because Rel is like that too. Vegas looking at us like y'all niggas is fucking crazy. But I can, like I said, in my fucked up head, it was us against them. And like you said, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And I regret it. I regret it because I missed out. I was wrong.
Because you see now, everyone wants to talk about that GOAT conversation. Who's on Michael's level, who's on Jordan's level. And 4 years ago, if you would have said LeBron, people say, "Oh, you crazy." But they would have said you were crazy if you said Kobe too. Now all of a sudden, now that Kobe's gone, they're not on the level of MJ and Kobe. Like people want to clump them two together, and that's how it was with Pac. Like I couldn't stand Pac. I thought Hit 'Em Up was trash. It's terrible. Don't talk about fake that way.
Here's the thing that I didn't get. Why all of a sudden do people have to act like they liked it? Great point. My man Rallo. This was my rap partner. God bless the dead. Rallo, I was with Rallo damn near every day, all through Morgan, all 4 years. We time gets between us. We link back up on Twitter, and this nigga's like, "Oh man, Lil Wayne, Cash Money, that was my shit." And I'm like, nigga, I was with you every fucking day. There is never one day you ever were talking about Cash Money, Lil Wayne. We was making fun of them dumbass album covers in the Source. Like, why are you now trying to present yourself like you were this well-rounded hip-hop person who listened to everything? Nigga, no, you the fuck wasn't. Like, but I don't know why I don't know why people can't just be like, yo, I didn't like it. And I didn't like it out of ignorance. I tell people all the time, I didn't like DJ Quick because he had a perm. I mean, it's a fucked up reason, but it's the truth. Fuck am I going to sit up here now and lie and be like, oh, yeah, I ride with Quick. No, nigga, I didn't like the nigga because he had a fucking perm. And it was 1990, and I'm like, fucking hip-hop has a perm. So... so again, I don't know why all of a sudden we got to have this revisionist history. And we talk about people trying to change other things, but I see people trying to change their own history. And it's like, oh, no, I always liked the South. Nigga, no, you did not. Stop it. You did not. You never, ever. You was at my crib every day. You was at 889 with me. You never said nothing about the South. Now you up here talking about Master P and and all the great business moves, but neither here nor there. I digress. Brown, what are your top 5 albums from 96?
I didn't put together a top 5 R&B list, but I co-signed pretty much everything everyone has said on this show before it. The 2 previous top 5 R&B, I co-signed both of them joints because they were both great lists, and everything that y'all said was absolutely 100% correct. I had every last one of those joints, and they were great albums. Problem with 1996 is I have a top 5, and then I was looking at the top 5 that didn't make my top 5, and that could have been a top 5.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yes.
All right. Number 5 for me. Number 5 was Stakes is High. Love Stakes is High because I love De La. And I liked everything that they represented. And I remember I had roommates at Morgan when Stakes is High came out, and they absolutely didn't get De La. They were talking. They didn't realize that De La was all from day one. They were like, "Why these dudes switching up?" They was hip hop hippies when they first came out, and now they want to be this and that. I'm like, nah, that's you don't get it. De La is anti-establishment. They are whatever is hot in hip hop. We want to move in the opposite direction, and that's what Stakes is High was. As we get into the mid '90s, and people are talking, when Dave was like, "Look, I'm tired of bees shaking asses." I'm like, "Yeah, that's real." Like I love that. I love that album. So I love Stakes is High. That was number 5. Number 4, Muddy Waters by Redman. Now I will admit, wasn't a big fan of Dare's a Dark Side. You know, when I look at his out, and he has some joints on there, and it's crazy because Can't Wait is probably one of my favorite Redman joints. But I really wasn't feeling There's a Dark Side. But I love Muddy Waters when he came back out. I'm like, all right, my man is back. I'm back on. You know, because I love What the album. Didn't like There's a Dark Side. Muddy Waters, I'm back on. Number 3 is The Score. Thought that was great. I thought that just blew. For me, The Score blew away everything that was the Fugees' first album. That should have been just like the Fugees' first album. And maybe it was me because when I was in high school, I used to work at a video store. So when the Fugees first came out and they presented them to me, I'm like, ain't that the chick from Sister Act? Chick from Sister Act's rapping now? She's singing? And I was like, I just wasn't feeling it. But when they came back out with The Score, I'm like, all right, I'm on board. Fugees Live was my joint. You know, and
that first Fugees album was like Juvenile Hell, and The Score was like The Infamous.
Yeah, because
Right.
there are people that, you know, there are people who for real tell you like with a straight face, The Infamous is Mobb Deep's debut.
No, I've seen it many times on Twitter, plenty of times.
So The Score, you know, The Score is number 3. Number 2, Illadelph Half-Life. It's crazy that you pulled out the vinyl because Illadelph Half-Life might be the last thing I bought on tape. I had the tape, you know.
That's crazy.
Had to go to the wall to get that joint while I was home or on the weekend, and that was the last before I finally decided to be a grown man and start getting CDs. But I had Illadelph Half-Life, and what's funny was you talked about being in Atlanta in '97. That summer of '96, I was my brother and I were working in Atlanta, and we stayed there for the entire summer, and Clones had just hit the streets right before we left. So I'm like, okay, Philly is back. Just like you were saying, Philly is back. Like, all right. So I was waiting for the album to come out. I'm like, okay, you get down to Atlanta, and and they were playing it on nighttime radio, and that was my notice that the Roots had arrived. I'm in Atlanta, and they playing the Roots. It's one thing to be in Philly. It's one thing even to be in Baltimore, in DC, and they're playing. But if they playing in Atlanta, the Roots have arrived.
Right.
So, like Illadelph Half-Life, that was probably number 2. Number 1, Reasonable Doubt. That's number 1 for obvious reasons. Jay-Z, to me, that first 10 years of Jay-Z's career, what he talked about was always a level above everybody else. When rappers was in videos riding Volkswagen Jettas and Astro vans and minivans and just Chevy Blazers, it was Jay-Z who was in the video with the Lexuses and the Mercedes Benzes. Then when people caught up to Mercedes Benzes, that's when Jay-Z was in the Bentleys. It was like, to me, we had heard coke rap, we heard the drug rap, but everything that Jay-Z was spitting was just a level above everything. He was telling stories, and it's like, to me, I didn't care if he did it or not. It sounded real. It sounded like he did it. He was painting a picture. Now, I saw a conversation you had on Twitter with somebody where you said you didn't like the beat to Brooklyn's Finest.
Yeah, I never liked that beat.
But the thing was, I loved it. I loved, and I was excited.
Keep this in mind, I loved the song, didn't like the beat. So I love what Big and Jay did over it. I remember the first time I heard the beat, and I was just like, yeah, if I played this shit, y'all not picking this shit. Y'all not picking this. Y'all did this because Clark did it, and Clark knows both of y'all or whatever. But love the song. I mean, both of them bodied the song, but I never loved the actual beat. Like what Vegas say, like everything else on that, Politics as Usual, I love the beat. The Evils love the beat. I just didn't love the beat, but it's an incredible song. There are beats that I make that I don't like, but once MCs get on them, and I'm like, oh damn, y'all really made that shit sound better because I didn't like the beat in the first place. So that's what I meant. But I love the song.
And for me, it's crazy that Reasonable Doubt was my favorite of '96 because, like I said, I was spending the summer in Atlanta. So before we got on the plane to go to Atlanta. I'm at the record store because I'm like, I got a 3-hour plane ride. I gotta get me some tapes. I gotta get me some CDs to listen to. And I went to the record store hoping to get Nocturnal by Helter Skelter. That's what I wanted because, I messed with the Fab Five. I love LaFleur, Escoshka. That was my joint. And I wanted to get that CD. And while I was there, I'm like, oh, okay, that Jay-Z CD is out. Let me pick that up too, and I'll see what that's talking about later on. And then I ended up playing it, and that's all I listened to almost that whole summer. Like, oh, this is a game changer. This is my joint. And then when you think about like 96, I told you like my honorable mentions.
Well, hold on, we ain't there yet. We're gonna
come back for honorable.
We're gonna come back for honorable.
All right, no problem.
What you gonna say, Bag? There you go. Yep, the Roots. That clones us. Yep.
See.
Yep. That was it right there, bro.
See, couldn't find a single, so I had to take it back to the old. So this is 96. Taped it off the radio.
Yeah.
Taped it off the radio and just hope the DJ didn't start talking before the end because they kind of just ended the song. I'm like, don't let the song end.
Yeah. Now that's dope, man. That's dope. Rel, what you got for your top 5, bro?
All right, let me see that I got this in the right order. 1, 2, 3. Okay. My number 5 was Reasonable Doubt. I mean, everything that everybody said about it previously, you know what I'm saying, I agree with. It was like different from the Jay-Z that I heard previously, like from like Original Flavor Time and all that. He was kind of rapping fast and all that. There's some things about this album that's just interesting with me. Like I liked the other version of Dead Presidents, not the one that's on the album. Because the one that's in the video, the verses is different on that one. But yeah, it's some song like The Evils is like one of my favorite Jay-Z songs ever. Like that song is crazy. And so Reasonable Doubt was fire. Stakes is High is number 4. Huge De La fan, of course. And I just like and we'll talk about it, like there was a shift in what was being put out, and they kind of was defiant against, you know what I'm saying, what they put out on Stakes of High was kind of different than everything that was out at the time, you know what I'm saying, and they kind of just was defiantly sticking to their guns. They put that album out. Number 3 is Illadelph Half-Life. I'm the same way. Like, Do You Want More was like, it was like cool, but this was, and like I feel like Malik B added like more street element to the Roots, you know what I'm saying? And that's just what I wanted to hear at the time, you know what I mean? And
I feel you, bro. I was the same way. I'm like, I don't want to hear Mellow My Man and all. Like, I felt like they kind of tried to come in on that jazz thing, that jazz shit was getting played out. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like they were grasping for straws, which is why a lot of their remixes were getting remixed by the beat miners. Like, that's why they came out with them Silent Treatment. You don't go to the beat miners unless you're trying to get some mud, unless you're trying to get some dirt. So you going from Silent Treatment to the Black Thought, You and Yours Kick the Ball remix, the beat miners remix, like, you know what I mean? So I feel you on that. I think Rel stuck. So let's move on to our slept on joints. For me, like Brown was saying, this year is so crazy. Are you back, Brown?
Yeah, I'm back. My bad.
Right.
I don't know.
It's all good.
My fault. Where was I? I was on Illadelph.
You was at Illadelph.
And then number 2 is Hell on Earth.
Give us a story, bro.
Did I freeze again? Did I freeze?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm at work, so I don't know what's up with this Wi-Fi. But Hell on Earth.
Yeah, give us a story with us, bro. So Hell on Earth, you buy the CD and you call a young lady over, and
he told it. That's just what I thought
it was the Infamous.
No, the Infamous was that story. I told another story about how I was in the car with my boy and we was listening to Mobb Deep,
Oh yeah, and you called
Yes,
me.
you did.
and the
Yeah.
girl walked up, and he gonna say, "Man, stop talking to that bitch. Turn up the Mob." I'm like, "What the? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you, dog? Like, you know what I mean? I just remember that happening. But yeah, this was like, I think Prodigy was like in another zone lyrically
Yeah.
on this album. Havoc, you know what I'm saying? Fully produced this. And like Vague said, Godfather Part 3, whenever that shit comes on, it's like, I don't know, that shit put that shit put me in a different mood. Like you ready to punch somebody in the face. Like that beat is just crazy. And number one is It Was Written. And as much as I love Illmatic, when I go back and listen to Nas, I always go to It Was Written first. Cause it just, I don't know. I give you power. If I'm like, if it's somebody like that don't know about Nas, like a young boy or something, I'm like, yo, listen to this. It's usually like something like that. I Gave You Power, or Silent Murder was on the tape version, but Taking in Blood, you know what I mean? Something like that. Like, I think I agree with Vague. Nas was a way more well-rounded MC on It Was Written. And the only thing that drew back from it was the Trackmaster stuff. And like, to be honest, like, they wasn't whack. It just was, they had a bad name from the purists because they felt like Trackmasters was kind of watering down, you know what I'm saying, hip hop. But if you didn't know, you know what I'm saying, that they produced some of these songs, you wouldn't even say it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't. So
I always say it's guilty by association, man. You know what I mean? Because the only loop that's on there is the If I Ruled the World joint. Everything else, you can't name anything else. Maybe somebody would know the Message joint was a Sting song, but for the most part, there wasn't the regular Trackmaster hoopla of, oh, yo, we just gonna loop Upside Down by Diana Ross. So, yo, we just gonna loop, you know, X, Y, Z. You know, they didn't do that this go round. But again, I just think it's guilty by association. I mean, I won't hold you. When I heard If I Ruled the World, I was like, to me, it was the flip of what we talking about with the Roots. Like, last time you heard Silent Treatment, the next time you heard Clones, you was like, oh, shit. I felt like it was the flip. If the last time you heard Nas was, I don't know, it ain't hard to tell, the Large Professor remix or One Love, and then the next time you hear him is If I Ruled the World rhyming over Houdini's Friends with Lauryn Hill singing the hook, I know for me, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, this ain't, you know what I mean? But again, I was like, all right, but let me listen to the rest of the album. So again, it's one of them things where I don't agree with it. It's like my kids who sell drugs. I don't agree with it, but I understand why you do. Like, when people say they don't like it was written, I don't agree with it, but I understand why you may not like it. Because if you got your mouth ready for Represent Part 2 and you hearing them rhyming over, you know, Friends, you may feel some kind of way. You know what I mean? But
and I was kind of patient a little bit because I felt the same way about that song. But you remember they would put the beginning part of the Message.
Yeah,
and
with
that
the Message
was
stuff.
that was what balanced.
So when
it
I
out.
saw the video,
yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let me just chill,
right,
and listen to the whole. You know what I mean? Because it was kind of a balance. Because when I heard the drum with Lauren, I knew what he was trying to do. He's like, I gotta appeal to a more broader audience. You know what I'm saying? Illmatic is a classic, but it didn't get out. You know what I'm saying? It took a while for that to sell the records that it should have. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like, and there's stories about that with him, as far as like after Illmatic and him feeling like being discouraged a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And I felt like I knew what he was trying to do. When I heard the beginning part of the Message and how they did it, I was like, oh, I'm good. I was like, it's gonna be nothing to worry about.
I think too, people gotta sit back and give Nas credit because he didn't do the If I Ruled the World for the whole album. You know what I mean? Like, he could have just sat there and just looped up everything for 18 songs, and he didn't do that. You know what I mean? The one with Mobb Deep. Which one was that? Live Nigga Rap. Like, nigga, that's crazy. Like, come the fuck on that. That shit crazy.
That
you know what
beat,
I mean?
Oh my god.
Right, like that shit crazy. Like, but I know diehard boom bappers that's like, yo, that album trash. And I'm like, bro, it's because it say the track. But you know that album ain't trash. But again, and I get it. Like I said, luckily I didn't fall in that realm, but yeah. That shit was crazy when it came out. All right, slept on albums. I got 3, so 3 slept on albums. And they're not necessarily even slept on. I feel like Brown said they're kind of just albums that didn't just make my top 5 almost because But I do feel Firing Squad by MOP is slept on by the masses, not the boom bappers, but the masses. This is when I became an MOP fan. I like Till the Death. I mean, was that the first album? Yeah, Till the Death. I thought that was cool, but when I heard Firing Squad with Stick to Your Guns with G-Rap and New Jack City and all that shit, like I was like, yo, and them and the 96 premiere were just magic to me. Like that just fit perfectly. So I got Firing Squad, Iron Man, Ghostface. I love this joint. I love Ghost. I love Iron Man. I know everybody loves Supreme Clientele more. I'm one of them few people that like Iron Man better, so that and then like Brown was talking about Nocturnal, Helter Skelter. Like I love that intro when I just hit play. Something about I love an album when you just hit play and some shit comes on. I don't want to hear an intro. I don't want to hear you talking. And when that here they come, you would dedicated soldier say, here. Like I was just like, yo, and then Strang talking his shit. I was just like, yo, this shit hard. You know what I mean? So those are my 3 slept on. JR, 3 slept on albums from 96.
Oh, just 3. So I got Monifa's Mood and Moments.
Is that the debut?
Yes.
That's her in the bathtub, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about who was on it, but she was in the bathtub.
With shoes on.
Right. You talking about Heavy D? I'm like, yeah, sure. Jay-Z was on it too. She was in the bathtub, right? Okay.
Yeah, and people sleep on Heavy D as a producer. He produced a lot on this album for real. So that was dope. Mid-Condition, Definition of a Band. That was dope. Oh my God, man. I'm such a Mid-Condition fan. So I'm so mad that I didn't throw him in my top 5. But like y'all said, it was so much out there that some people just couldn't make the top 10. But that was an album that was being played. Y'all already said Blackstreet. And then the last one, I'm going to go with Michelle Cello with Peace Beyond Passion. That album. That was with her cover of Who Is She to You by Bill Withers. She did a cover on that. Like that album was dope to me. Like that was really her mainstream record that people really started paying, because her debut, a lot of people don't give respect to, because that's really kind of the creation of the neo soul. But that Piece Beyond Passion is a dope album. I really recommend people listen to it. And then another one more. I'm gonna be Jodeci tonight. The Preacher's Wife, Whitney Houston, Preacher's Wife. Whitney came in high as what, but singing to the Lord, so it was good with me. I was good with her. You know what I'm saying? Look, it's just the truth. Like she came in and did her thing on it. You know what I mean? And I thought it was a great album for real. And that rallies up my top.
Now here's the thing, bro. With Michelle,
not high singing for the Lord.
She was high. All right, she was high for the Lord and something else. But
yo, with Michelle Cello, is this the best album to get started with her? I've always been a single person. I've heard songs. I fucked with her, but I've never really dived into a whole album. So this is the best album to start with?
For me, I would say it is, because her debut, I love it, but a lot of people don't get it. This album is definitely a mainstream album that everybody can kind of get with, but she's talking about a lot of topics, like for real. So be prepared. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But I would say if I would introduce anybody, I would introduce to this one first.
Outside your doors on the first drum, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Outside the Door was my shit.
That shit's fire. That shit is fire.
Mm-hmm.
Beg, what you got? 3 slept on joints.
For slept on, I got Smooth the Hustler, Once Upon a Time in America.
Ooh, I forgot.
Really slept on album, man. So, there's the standout joints, but just in general, the bars, the beats. I think it was what's the dude named DR period.
DR period.
Yeah, who did the production. just a really dope album and slept on like crazy as far as skilled rappers or whatever. It's kind of a shame that he didn't have a long enough career because he for damn sure had the bars and the skills to have it, but played out the way it did. The Lost Boys, Legal Drug Money.
Thank you, Big.
Yes. Record on that joint.
Thank you. Yes.
I was a little resistant because I got a lot of homies from Queens that went to Morgan and they used to dance, and I hated they dance because shit looked corny. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I hated that shit. I used to be like, let's these bum ass niggas at a moment. But every single the Lost Boys drop, I did not know it was all on that same album, which was crazy.
I'm so mad at that though, because they came out with like a lot of them albums in like the beginning of '95. This album ain't come out to the beginning of '96, so it was like we waited so long for this joint to come out. Like,
I felt like we heard Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless in like '93, '94.
Yeah, like it was forever for them to come out. Like
we did, because that joint came out on the low, and then they didn't really blow up to the Jeeps, Coupes, Benz joint. It was like '95, but yeah, it did take forever for the album to come out. But it's just nothing but joints on that whole album. And lastly, MOP, Firing Squad. Same reason, Phil. I think there was just a lot of music coming out at that time, and people were picking and choosing what they were going to pick up. And I was an MOP fan, and I was like, yo, they fucking premiere. And when I heard it, it went beyond my expectations. Like you said, I loved To The Death because MOP was so unique. It was just like having something different. But Firing Squad was next level. And like you mentioned, man, Coogee rap was already considered old school at that time. And his bars on that song is like, yo, I think he's getting better. Like that's crazy, in the 90s. So, yeah, those are my slept-ons, and I agree. Helter Skelter, Nocturnal. Not enough.
That joint Brownsville to this day. Brownsville is still crazy.
Yes, God.
That beat is something crazy on there, man. Crazy. Brown, what you got for 3 slept-on joints?
All right, 3 slept-ons. Number one slept on was AT Aliens. I talked about AT Aliens. I talked about spending that summer in Atlanta. While I was in Atlanta, met a girl who worked for LaFace Records, and all she was telling me all summer was how hot this album was going to be. She had been hyping it up all summer. Like I got down there, heard Elevators like almost instantly, and she was telling me, all right, she's like, look, the Bull Dre stopped smoking weed and just pretty much put everything into his lyrics. Like he's got something. He said, and she's hyping it up like, yo, he said the South got something to say, and she's just telling me, when this album come out, you won't know what he's talking about. Like he was not lying when he said the South got something to say. So she had pretty much just drove that into my head all summer. So, almost to the point where you're like, all right, when it comes out, I'm like, it can't be that good. Like she's overselling this. And then I'm hearing it, I'm like, okay. Yeah, these dudes is, And it was like, and once again, like I said, I was all into the East Coast, so I didn't care what Atlanta had to say. They're like, all right, Atlanta got something to say. It's great. But it ain't saying, good for Atlanta. All right, guys, but nah, that was hot. Like I love that. Let's see, probably Iron Man as well, because because I love the dynamic of Raekwon, Ghost, and Capadonna. I thought those 3 together, they just made good music. So I was cool with that. And then probably most slept on was It Was Written, because for me, as far as It Was Written was concerned, I felt like I saw there was a contrast between It Was Written and Illmatic, but I felt like I saw it coming. You saw it begin on Verbal Intercourse with Raekwon when he came out and he was Nas Escobar. Then you fast forward another year. You fast forward later on that year in '95 with AZ Do or Die. You saw that transition into what Nas becoming, transitioning from Nasty Nas to Nas Escobar. So when he came out, you talked about the joint with the Trackmasters, and for me, it was the whole package. It was not just the Trackmasters song, but it was the Trackmasters song with the Hype Williams video. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, Nas is going that route now. He's going the Hollywood, the hip hop Hollywood route with the flashy videos, with all the colors, with the bug-eyed lens and everything. And it was like, all right, I saw it coming, and I didn't mind it. It was cool with me. So, like, I know a lot of people saying, all right, that might be his weakest one, that might be his wackest one, but it's like, no, I liked it. I thought it was cool. Like, I Gave You Power. Thought Affirmative Action was like, okay, Foxy Brown's gonna be that beast. I just thought she was just going, I thought Foxy was gonna be better than Kim, better than anybody at that point, But yeah, those three. It was written AT Aliens and Iron Man. That's probably my most slept on joints in '96.
It's funny because, like I said, I know people to this day who call it was written trash. You know what I mean? And again, all these conversations, I'm loving them because it's a prelude to what's coming up when we talk about the vibe of '96. Because you've got people saying Nomadic, it was one of the dopest albums. Brown is saying it's a slept on album. There may be another person who may have been on here who said the album was trash. And those three existing thoughts usually didn't happen before '96. Like almost everything that came out, we either liked it or we didn't like it. You know what I mean? It was like everybody on Morgan's campus on the bridge at 889. Oh, we all love it. But around this time, this shift is coming where it's like, I'm not feeling that. No, I'm not. And it's really a real core shift in hip hop. But we're gonna talk about that, bro. What's the slept on? What are your three slept on joints?
I'm on my Jodeci. I don't know if it's a Philly thing or not, but Iron Man, like, I like that better than Supreme Clientele too. I'm probably in a minority.
Oh, it's just me and you. Just me and you. I
love Iron Man. Like that album. I don't know the sound, everything about that album. I love Iron Man.
Shit, I even love the cover. Just the colors in the cover
was ill.
Look crazy to me. Like, I just even love the fucking cover.
And I'm a lump two albums into one. That's gonna be from the two female MCs that came out that year. That's Foxy and Kim. I think both of those albums were really good. Even with the subject matter and all that stuff, they were really well produced, put together albums, both of them. So I wanted to give them some love. And what did I have? I got Soul on Ice, Razcast. The beats on this album were not the best, but in '96, if you can hold my attention with some of the beats that were on there, like I was impressed. Like the lyricism on this album was crazy. Nature of the Threat is one of the craziest songs ever created. I don't know how he did that, but I felt like that was a heavily slept on album. And Wrath of the Math was slept on. I know a lot of people that was like judging the first one from this one. It's kind of unfair, but it was a good album. It was some solid stuff on there. So I felt like it got slept on.
Yeah, it's crazy because Wrath of My Math, I was sitting here thinking, is this gonna make my slept on list? I'm not gonna hold you. I was disappointed with it. I like it, but I was also disappointed with it because, like you said, but to me, it's like Dre says, you only funky as your last cut. So, like you said, it's unfair to judge it off of that. But I'm like, yo, this is what you gave me last time. It's like going to Delisandro's. I want the same goddamn steak. I don't want that's why Vegas and JR, if Delisandro's done fell to number 5. But we'll talk about that later. Like,
that is crazy. That is crazy.
For real?
I'm about to tell you the spot I went to, but that's a whole nother story. But what I'm just saying is, I'm like, these ain't the same stakes. Like, I feel like maybe D'Alessandro's is getting too, tourist friendly, and they just got to hurry up and make steaks quicker or whatever it may be. But it's not the same steak I was getting 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So all that to just say is that, I am holding J. Rue like to that in the Primo too, because I don't even think a lot of the beats were as crazy as the first album. So wasn't a bad album. I'll give it 3.5 mics, but I was disappointed because I was expecting 5 mics from Premier and J. Rue again, especially with some of the stuff Premier was giving out to other people. All right.
I wasn't feeling that first. I wasn't feeling that You're Playing Yourself song.
Me neither.
That kind of that soured me to the whole project. But
I wasn't feeling that either.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say, babe?
The way you felt about Pac was the way I felt about J. Rue.
Stay. Hold that, babe. Hold that.
About Biggie, dude.
Mm-hmm. Hold that right there, because that's gonna go into the vibe of what I felt like was a huge split right there. But nah, I feel you, bro. I wasn't feeling that You're Playing Yourself, John, because I felt like this ain't even, you're trying to flip Players Anthem, and this ain't better than Players Anthem, which was like number one. I'm like, Cream, I ain't used to this from you, my nigga. Like, if you want to flip some shit, usually flip it and kill it. And I'll never forget. I was on 95. I don't know if I was going to Morgan. Radioactive is playing one day, and they're just playing the beat at first. And I was like, I swear to God, I'm like, it's a whack Primo knockoff beat. Like, who did this beat? This sound like a whack Primo knockoff beat. Then J. Rue start rapping. I'm like, oh shit, this is a Primo beat. Like, what the fuck? Like, even with that, with the whole, but we gonna go into that. So who do y'all think was the dopest MC of the year and the slept on MC? With me, I'm going with Nas. I agree with what Vague said. I just felt like he was even sharper than Illmatic, and like I think it was Rel said it, I'm the same way. Whenever I feel like I want to hear some Nas, I always pull It Was Written first. I never go to Illmatic. If I'm like, I'm in the mood for some Nas, I never go to Illmatic. I'll go to Illmatic when I want to hear Illmatic. But whenever I'm like, I want to hear some Nas, I instantly go to It Was Written. People have asked me a million times, does that mean I like it better? I don't fucking know. I just know. Here's the thing, I got a new rule. It's 50 years of hip hop. There's certain conversation I'm not having no more. The whole producer versus beat maker conversation, not having that shit no more. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm not having the conversation, is this hip hop or rap anymore? Is whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. I don't give a fuck.
That's because you've been on Twitter That's because you've been fighting people on Twitter all day.
With 50 years of hip hop, I'm not doing it no more, y'all. Fuck it, I'm not doing it. And the same with now I'm like, look, I loved It Was Written. I don't know if I like it more than Illmatic. I don't even give a fuck. I just pull It Was Written. Now here's the crazy part. The slept on MC I'm gonna go with is Jay-Z, because I felt like a lot of people really weren't like on the level of all the albums that came out with in 96. And I love what JR said, because a lot of times people forget. Reasonable Doubt was not making most people's top 5 albums of that year if you ask that year. Now, yeah, of course, 30 years later, now we're like, oh yeah, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, it was the greatest album ever. No, it wasn't. Nobody was really naming that album. So I gotta say, Jay was actually the slept on MC that year, because I think the album is still incredible to this day. But to JR's point with Brown Sugar, it didn't hit like that when it first came out. I mean, yeah, everybody loved Ain't No Nigga. It was off the Nutty Professor soundtrack, but keeping in mind the album just went gold. You know what I mean? So this is still at the time when, and again, I think Jay is a genius for doing shit like this. Same thing with the Roots. Nobody was calling the Roots legendary until they started saying the legendary Roots crew. Then after they put it out there, then people were like, oh yeah, the legendary Roots crew, they're legends. Nobody was saying the Roots were legends before they said it. Nobody was sitting around saying who's the best MC, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas, until
he said it.
Jay said,
until he injected himself into that conversation.
He injected himself in that conversation and then made it a conversation. Because in 96, people were not like, yo, I remember it being who's better who's better, Nas or P? Like, and I wouldn't even ask y'all that at the end, later in the show, but 96 Nas against 96 P, that shit was on it. Nobody was talking about, okay, put Jay in the mix. You know, Jay inserted himself. We all went with it. And that's how it came. So to me, Nas is the MC of the year. Jay is my slept on MC. JR, what about you?
As far I'll do.
You can do singers or MCs.
I do all right. Well, the sing, I'm gonna give it to Whitney. I mean, Wait to Exhale had came out at the end of November, so by 95 of November, but the album really hit in 96. So Whitney came with Exhale, and then at the end she comes out with The Preacher's Wife. She was still out singing people, so I would give her the vocals. Underrated. I would give it to actually Genuine, because nobody was really paying attention to Genuine vocals for real. Everybody was liking Pony for what it was, and that's just what it was. But the dude can actually sing for real. If you got his album, you realize that. But again, like you said, a lot of people really wasn't checking for the debut like that until he came out with 100% Genuine. That's when everybody was like, all right, we on him, even though I like The Bachelor though. But so I would say him is underrated. And the producer of the year, I'm gonna have to give it to.
Whoa, we're not there yet.
Oh, we're not there. We just singers, right?
Just singers right now.
Okay, got it.
And you're right. Whitney on Why Does It Hurt So Bad, bro. She's just fucking with people. She's just like showing
for
off.
Real. Like it's disrespectful.
It's like she's like, you know what? Let me go and get across these niggas up real quick. You got me on here with all these other R&B bitches. Bet. Let me show y'all real quick who y'all fucking with. I'ma just fuck with y'all and just why does it hurt so bad? Just Whitney to me, just fucking with people.
And so crazy that Babyface wanted to give that to her and I'm Your Baby Tonight back in 90.
Oh, word? That's how old that song is?
Yes.
Wow, I had no idea.
And she was like, again, she wasn't feeling it then. You know what I mean? Right. So obviously, and then Clive wasn't gonna put that shit on there either, because that shit too R&B-ish. So it was just like, once it for this album, Whitney was like, I'm gonna do it for this one. So
that's what's up. Vay, what you got? Who's your MC of the year and a slept on?
MC of the year is Nas. I think it was written, but there's all the mixtape freestyles. The foulness on DJ Clue tape. You ain't hear no rapping like that before, man. Come on. Like it was just crazy the way he was spitting, the things he was saying. It was Illmatic boosted. You know what I'm saying? Everything people loved about his flow and his him being poetic like that on It Was Written, he was that and then some, but not only on his own projects, but freestyles and the stuff they were getting, really the mixtape game. And I say this to a lot of people because I remember I saw a poll, I think it was on Twitter or something, where they were like, what version of Nas you like? Nasty Nas, Escobar, I think they said Godson, just to kind of represent the eras.
Right.
And to me, people always shun Escobar because he's wearing suits and stuff, but I'm like, but that's when he was in his
right. That's Nas.
Right, like that's when he was like the best Nas. You know what I'm saying? When he was rhyming like that. So, he was just too crazy for anybody, and there was a lot of competition that year. Runner up, Redman. Slept on. I agree with you with Jay-Z, but I guess I'm gonna just pick somebody else who I think is dope. Came out that year, is kind of known, and but they don't get the same props. Rock from Helter Skelter. Okay. I think his bars are slept on, and he's kind of crazy, and he been crazy. Sean Price improved over time, right? Especially when he became a soloist. But Rock was dope from the first time you heard him to today. Sometimes when you hear him, so I think people sleep on him because he's not just a voice. It's the shit he be saying sometimes where I'm like, man, somebody get this man a record deal so he could really do some damage. Right.
I mean, he had an album a couple of years ago that was dope. I forgot the name of it, but it was really dope.
AP, Rockness AP.
Yeah,
that album was dope. And again, nothing but bars. So I think he don't get his props, and especially at that time, even though I like both of them, Rock was the standout for me, which he was just crazy. So
Brown, who's your MC of the year? Who's your slept on?
MC of the year is easy for me. Is Hove, Jay-Z. I just thought Reasonable Doubt was just too good of a CD for him to be, for him to not be MC of the year. Slept on. You could ask me that 5 different times. I'll give you 5 different answers. This time, I'm gonna say. I'm actually gonna say artists. I wanted to say as far as my slept on albums. I'm gonna say Bahamadia because that. I think honestly, because she was nice, but by the time that album came out, Kim and Foxy just had things on lock. And if you wasn't rapping about what they was rapping about, nobody was trying to hear you. But Bahamadia was nice because I thought she just had the best blend of backing. She was down with Primo and the Gangstar Foundation, but she was also down with the Roots.
Right.
So I thought that was a great debut, and I thought she was nice, and I thought lyrically she had something in her that could have been the best. Mm-hmm. I remember, I think Proceed Part 3 came out my freshman year, and telling people like, yo, give me the 5 mics so I can get Illmatic, and I remember people from Philly was talking about her, and I was getting ahead of myself. I admit, because it was hometown bias. But I'm sitting there telling her, like, yo, this girl's gonna be better than Light. This girl's gonna be better than
like you use the habitual line stuff. I get you, but I get you on Philly pride. I get you.
But no, bro, you know what I'm talking about, because you talked about it earlier in the show. How people was like Philly just until the Roots came out, and really it wasn't until Philadelphia Half nobody was giving Philly no props.
Right. I feel you.
So when Bahamadia came out, I'm like, yo, this girl's nice. Because I remember her from Funk Vibe from 92, 93. So when she came back out and she's back with the Roots, I'm like, yo, she's gonna be nice. But by 96, when her album came out, it was all about Foxy and Kim. So I thought she was a slept on artist.
All right, bro. MC of the year and you slept on.
MC of the year is Nas for me. I don't even know really what else to say about that. I mean, I just think he was at his best during this time. But my slept on is somebody that I feel like was right there, and that's Prodigy. Like 96 Prodigy was, I don't know, man. It was close, man. I ain't gonna hold you, but I just feel like Nas was like his most complete as an MC on It Was Written. But I know what Prodigy did on Hell on Earth was like Apostles' Warning. Like he just go crazy. So I think that was his strongest time too. So I give him Slept On and Nas the MC of the year.
All right, no doubt. So I was gonna ask y'all 96P versus Nas, but I'm seeing it's gonna be Nas anyway. So no need to even dive into that. But producer of the year for me, I'm going with DJ Premier. Brown just touched on it. Bahamadia did True Honey Buns, 3 the Hard Way, and Rugged Rough. Jay-Z, The Evil's Friend or Foe, and Bring It On. Nas, I Gave You Power. He did the D'Angelo Lady remix. MOP did Firing Squad, New Jack City, Stick to Your Guns, Brownsville, Salute, Downtown Swing of 96. And then he produced J. Rule's whole album, Wrath of the Math. My slept on producer, I'm going with Habit, because, I mean, again, Hell on Earth was just crazy to me. And it was just dope for me to see Hab kind of come into his own, and it's not like, Tip did Hab or anything like that. And I mean, between the Infamous and Hell on Earth, we were getting fucking Drop a Gem. We was getting joints that were just fucking bananas.
Slept on this song.
Would you say?
Slept on this song, by the way. Drop a Gem.
Yeah, Drop a Gem was crazy. I mean, I remember all them shit still shining. Like hearing them joints before it came out, and it was just like, yo, these niggas are fucking in a bag. And again, Havoc's drums. Havoc has some hard ass drums. We're gonna on some real shit from a producer here. Like his drums were always crazy to me. JR, producer of the year, slept on producer.
All right, producer of the year, I'm gonna have to give it to Babyface. I mean, this dude, Waiting to Exhale was all over everything in '96, so you couldn't tell. Whitney, freaking Mary, Tony, like all of them was like, if you look what was on the charts on the R&B, it was all of them. So 96, you got to give it to Babyface, for real. But I don't think he was, underrated or, slept on. But Timbaland had people like, uh-oh. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, once Aaliyah came out with, If Your Girl Only Knew, and then obviously with Genuine with Pony, it was like, uh-oh, something's about to change here. So everybody was just like, all right, we're paying attention to him. You know what I mean? So I think that, and then I'm going to say this too, I think Jam and Lewis also was underrated as well, because a lot of people doing this time were thinking that they weren't really doing nothing, but they was on New Edition joint. They did, oh God dang, I just saw my train of thought. What else did they do? They did Mid Condition joint, so they was definition of a mad band. They did Johnny Gill's joint that he came out with in '96. They also did Lionel Richie's album that they did. So they were still there, but people wasn't acting like they were doing anything, but they were. So I want to say that for Jam and Lewis too, but those three.
All right. Hey, what about you?
Producer of the year, I have Primo for all the reasons you mentioned. He was just in his bag, man. Like, he was producing for all these people, and it was all dope. Slept on, I have Easy Mo B, because I think people forget Easy Mo B was on a lot of albums. He did some stuff on Busta's debut, like Everything Remains Raw. Probably one of the hardest tracks on there. He did the Lost Boys hit single, Jeeps, Coops, and Benz. Das Effects album, he did Microphone Master that featured Prodigy on it. Another ill verse from Prodigy. And he did probably Shaq's greatest song, You Can't Stop the Rain.
Cream did that?
Easy Mo B.
Oh, Easy Mo B. Right. I'm sorry. I was about to lose my mind. I'm like, oh shit, all these years. That don't sound like Cream.
That song has my favorite Biggie verse of all time. Biggie's verse on You Can't Stop the Rain.
It's perfect.
My favorite Biggie verse. I love that verse.
Floating.
Yeah.
He was floating on that joint.
Yeah, but
that's how nice Biggie was. He gave a basketball player his greatest verse ever.
Right. Shaq executed though, because he just blended into the track for me. Like other songs, we kind of stood out where it's like, get this big nigga out of here on this Foosh nigga record. But this joint, I was like, Shaq kind of hanging with Biggie. I like it. I like it. So, and the beat is just so lush and dope. It's the type of thing we give Justice League and Rick Ross credit for, right? Just having that kind of vibe with the music. So, and it just showed how versatile even the songs I named, Easy Mo B is with the production. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah. No, Brown, what about you, producer of the year?
I'm gotta follow the trend as far as producer of the year. I'm gonna go with Primo for all the reasons now stated twice. I will co-sign that. Slept on producer of the year, I would actually say Eric Sermon. Thought Eric Sermon had some joints with Redman, had some joints with Keith Murray, and I think like it was hit or miss with Eric Sermon when EPMD broke up, but he just kept his name relevant that whole time, and that was something I always respected. So I just liked his work, and I thought what he did in '96 on Whatever Man on Muddy Waters, that was my joint. Then a couple joints he did with Keith Murray, so I think he was the most slept on. Especially when you talk about who was hot, when you're talking about the Nas's and the Jay-Z's, this wasn't somebody who had joints on the top MCs of '96. But when you look at '96 as a whole, that's when you start to see the Eric Sermon influence. What was the joint? Eric Sermon had that joint with Too Short on Too Short, Bayou song. So I always thought that was
lying with Too Short.
Huh?
I said, don't get me lying with Too Short. I'm just getting on the Too Short now. So
okay. Yeah. Well, in your travels, after this show, check out Bayou Some by Too Short.
Bayou Some.
buy you some.
All right.
And then, so, like I said, that alone and the joints he did with Keith Murray and Redman just put Eric Sermon, keeps him on the slept on producers list for me.
All right, Rel, what about you?
I'm gonna go with DJ Premier for producer of the year. Several of these albums he had his hands on. You know what I'm saying? He got placements in a lot of the top albums of the year, and all fire. And then I'm gonna go and have it as my slept on, and we'll put it over the top for me. I mean, you got Hell on Earth. I feel he did his thing, complete project produced by him by himself. You know what I'm saying? And then like that America Died Slowly came out, and that Street Life song came out, and I was like, yo, you know what? Yeah, these dudes crazy. Like that song, I love that song. That song is crazy. Pete starts that song off one of the best
all I could do is
lines. Yeah. And then that beat is crazy. It's like that beat is like vintage Mobb Deep, like, you know what I'm saying? And Pete, Havoc was in his bag. So I give him the slept on because I don't think people were putting him up there. Even now, like when you talk about producers, I don't think he gets as much credit as he should. And there's a couple people that y'all have mentioned that historically don't get as much credit. Easy Mo B doesn't. Eric Sermon doesn't get, so I think all of those answers were good, but I'm gonna go with Havoc.
Well,
Right.
Can I make one
Yeah.
comment on Havoc? I wonder. I think this soundtrack came out the same year.
Yeah, it did.
Sunset Park.
Oh,
Sunset Park, Back at You.
The right back at you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, "Damn, hey, this not on the album? Like the next album? Like
Yeah.
that song was crazy."
Right.
What was that one?
Man.
Forgot about that joint.
That shit was so
Yeah.
fucking hard, man.
That shit was fire. Damn, good pull, Vic. I forgot about that, John. Damn, yeah.
All you could do is shake your head sometimes. You ain't even got nothing. It's like you in church. You ain't even got nothing to say. You just shake.
Yeah.
Between that back at you, man. Whew, man. Hab was in his bag, man. Hab was in his bag. All right, let's talk about the vibe of 96. Now, to me, a lot of things happened in 96. We'll talk about some of them, but the one for me was this split. Veg, I don't know how you felt. Your freshman year was what at Morgan? 95?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how you felt like in Brooklyn and JR, everybody else, but it seemed like up to about 96, I felt like the bulk of us all agreed on hip hop. It was kind of like, this is dope, that shit is whack. That was it. Like there really wasn't too many debates over albums and things like that. But when 96 hit, it's like we had this split. It's like De La, J. Rue, and the Roots versus Big Bad Boy in the industry. You had Stakes is High, with everything Dave said. I'm sick of bitch shaking asses. I'm sick of Versace glasses, half-ass award shows, sick of name brand clothes. You had J. Rue just coming for the jugular one day. Like, yo, Puff, we fucked up Puff. We fucked up the A&R, fuck Foxy Brown. The Roots say that they didn't mean to do what they do to this big. And I literally just heard something with Quest. He was like, dog, you gotta remember, we was living in London. We didn't have, videos. We didn't have MTV. We weren't seeing all the other shit that was out there, whatever like that. But to me, it's a kind of a stretch because it's like, nigga, you were making fun of all the videos that were out at the time. So if you didn't see the videos, how would you even know what to make fun of? You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to be. It's like, hey, y'all, I'm blind, but watch, I'm gonna drive this car. Like, nigga, it's gotta be one or the other. It can't be both. You gotta pick one. Like, so you had all of that, and then you also had, the biggies and all that and everything like that. I know a lot of people who didn't hear Stakes is High because they felt like, fuck them niggas. I'm riding with Bad Boy. Like, I felt like there was this definite split in the sand because I meet people who are like, oh, I never heard Stakes is High. I wasn't fucking with that. And then I know a lot of other people like, oh, I never heard Life After Death because I wasn't fucking, like, I was on Day. What we were just talking about early. Like, people were picking sides. Like, yo, I'm with De La. Fuck that radio shit. I never heard Foxy Brown album. I never heard, hardcore, which to me is one of my favorite albums of that year too. But so it's this split in hip hop. Vague, how did you feel about this split? Did you feel like it's good for hip hop? Did you feel like I'm riding with these niggas, fuck those niggas? Like, how did this split affect you and your crew?
It definitely was a split. I had a lot of friends at Morgan, so I had different types of friends, right? Like, I partied a lot. I had party friends, so obviously we like all the bad boy shit. But then you hear me rhyme, I sound like I'm with the other cats, right? Hardcore, underground, stuff like that. So it definitely was a split because I had friends who just didn't rock with that flashy stuff because they just wanted the boom bap, you know what I'm saying? And I had friends who was like, fuck you book bag niggas or whatever. I was kind of somewhere in the middle. Most of the time I played the party side more than anything, just because I felt like the other side was hating on it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas it wasn't the other way around. The party cats was just doing the party shit. The other cats was hating on it. So for me, I didn't really, even though I didn't like it, there were a number of artists who I was fans of who I didn't like the shit they were saying, and it definitely delayed me listening to some of their music, like Daylight, right? I didn't listen to it because I'm like, why? Whenever has Daylight really cared that much about what other rappers do beyond the usual rapper, competition talk? You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't feeling that shit, especially when you're saying Versace glasses. Then it's like, oh, word, okay. You heard a boot camp click? You heard about that studio story? You heard the Junior Mafia?
And it's funny because the Versace shades was like, it's an obvious shot at Big.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, right. So it was kind of just like, okay, you're shooting your shot, and not in a good way, at Big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, even with because this was '96 also, I believe. Like, Ice Cube would bow down. West Side Connection. Ice Cube was one of my favorite rappers, and here he is talking about my city, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? So I didn't listen to that shit until recently. You know what I'm saying? Because it was less about what he had to say, because I'm not that sensitive, but it was the fact that I was such a fan of his. I felt like he was dissing me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, damn, like, y'all don't love us. What Snoop say? Y'all don't love us. Like,
right.
That's how I was feeling. And the same thing with Pac. But Pac, I was looking at him as a hypocrite because I'm like, nigga, you are from here. Like, relax. Right. You're going to talk about Bally's, but you were here when Bally's was it. So you probably wanted a pair, so stop it. And it was just, to me, it was stupid because a lot of these albums, the Roots, I didn't really feel like that. Like, I didn't feel that video, but beyond that, the album was what it was. So I kind of felt in the middle as a fan myself, whereas I felt like my friends did more of the dividing. But you're right, it was a clear division, because I know dudes who were like, fuck Tupac. Like, they didn't care what he did. They were just like, fuck that.
That was me.
That was all these Philly niggas.
Had no use for Tupac. Had no use for Tupac. Exactly.
I'm niggas.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for me, like, that split was crazy because, like you said, when you hear Stakes is High, I'm not mad at it, but it just was kind of like, it kind of was just like, I think I was somewhere like you, Veg, just somewhere in the middle. Like, yo, and I've never been a club bull like that, but I'm just like, a part of me was like, almost like who gives a fuck? Another part of me was like, it felt like, okay, they're a champion, because I felt like, and I just got finished saying that I'm not having this conversation, but for teaching purposes, I will have this conversation. Like, Veg, I was telling Tone one day, we was talking about hip hop and rap and, Nelly and all that Ja Rule shit. And I said, for me, I always looked at hip hop as what we played and rap is what Rap Attack played. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like how I drew the line. I mean, the name of our show is strictly hip hop. The name of this show is Rap Attack. We don't play Ja Rule, they do. We don't play Nelly, they do. So for me, it was like, that was the split. So it kind of felt like Mace felt like rap. Like, you know what I mean? To this day, I've never heard Harlem World because I had no urge to hear Harlem World because I hated that fucking song. And I didn't know Murder Mace. I didn't know Mace as the mixtape rap. The first time I heard Mace was probably on some bad boy shit, and I didn't like him. So it was like, okay, that's rap. So here comes De La to defend hip hop. But this was the first time in all this time that I ever felt like it was a hip hop versus rap. Like the KRS-One song, like he had a 12-inch called Hip Hop versus Rap. You know, rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live. So now we have this hip hop versus rap split, and that's what it felt like it was. It felt like, you know, I think Foxy said something like, nigga, I'll respond when you sell 1 million records or some shit like that. Like, she's like, I'm not even responding to your broke ass J. Rue. Like, nigga, I'm not even gonna do that. You know, so it was just this whole hip hop versus rap split. JR, what about you? You're the R&B guru, but did you feel anything with this split? Did you even realize it was a split that was going on at this time of almost like I said, hip hop versus rap?
I knew it started to really become prominent in R&B for real. This is when you start looking at the charts and it wasn't just R&B music anymore. It started becoming when you started seeing hip hop artists having #1 R&B songs. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like, it was, now it's getting together. Like now this is the year when you're like, when they're putting everything together. Like when you got Bone Thugs and Harmony having Crossroads as a #1 record, R&B record, it was like, okay, all right, you now we see that hip hop is really starting to become a more dominant. And then forget it. Once 97, 98, it was a rap. It was like, it was no more just R&B stuff. Like 96, it started off great, but then afterwards you started seeing a lot of hip hop coming into it, and it was like, after a while, R&B couldn't even be #1 anymore. You know what I mean? So this was kind of like really like maybe the last kind of year that you kind of looked at the charts. It's like, okay, all right, R&B was dominating, because then after then it was just like hip hop was like, we're here and we're taking off and it's rap. So
yeah, it's crazy because when we do 97, the whole piece is so many albums got shelved in 97. And I felt like they got shelved because they were being made in 95 and 96. So great example, Large Professors, the LP, all drum, SP 1200, dusty, grimy beats. How are we dropping this in 97? Like who's playing this? Bad Boy is ruling the radio right now. Like who can drop this album? Who's gonna play this shit? So it's almost like shelve it, just you started getting albums shelved because it was like, yo, hip hop has changed so much that, you know, it's funny. I always say freshman year at Morgan, 92, EPMD, PMD says, still I haven't seen one rapper living comfortably. I want to say MTV Cribs premiered in 96 or 97. So now we don't went from, I ain't seen a rapper living comfortably, niggas living in.
Now they all live comfortably.
Basement and Q-Tip living in his house back in Queens, sleeping in a twin bed. Now you got motherfucking MTV rap cribs where you got motherfuckers with, you know, the boom boom room and fucking 10 cars and studios in the basement. So
they'll always be Redman though. There'll always be Redman.
Yeah, there'll always be Redman's infamous episode, you know.
That's cribs. The best.
But it just goes to show how much the game had changed. You know what I'm saying? When niggas was going from, you know, like Brown was talking about, you know, having a Honda Accord or a Maxima. Now in 97, like Jay said, you can't even have a 4.0 range. Like you got a 4.0 range, like nigga, you whack out here, nigga. You ain't got the 4.6, take your broke ass back home, you know? Well, I remember niggas, I think Jay said the line like the X5 is the baby mama car. My man had the X5.
We don't drive X5s, we give them the baby mamas. Like,
yeah. My man traded his in. Like nigga, like Jay-Z was moving the culture in so many ways. It was like, a 4.0 range? No, take that shit back. Jerseys? We don't wear jerseys no more. What is wrong with y'all? Like, so it's like so much stuff was changing, and this is where the split began. Rel, the split, how did you feel about it? Did you see it coming? And question, Rel, before we go to you, when Dave says I'm sick of Versace glasses, have we really seen that much Versace glasses by 96? Like, I felt like it was more of that coming on from like 97 on. So when I remember hearing it, it's like, I'm sick of it. It's like, I mean, are we seeing that much? Like, babe?
Yeah, because I think the first time we saw him was in One More Chance remix video.
Okay, and that's 95?
Yeah, he's sitting on the throne. We got the glasses on. And then play his anthem. That was 95, the single. he had him on and that. So yeah, that's when he went into that. So.
All right. And I guess the bitches shaking asses is Lil Kim and Foxy. I guess it just wasn't as much as what, it kind of sounded in the song. It like almost sounded like I've been here seeing this shit for 5 years and I'm sick of it, goddamn it. Not like I've been seeing this shit for a year or whatever. It just felt like it's...
Well, I think also when you look... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Hold on for a second, bro. Hold on for a second. You gonna say...
Yeah.
Well, what I read into it was... sick of these niggas making more money than me doing that. Because that honestly, like, who cares? Like, you never seen a Rump Shaker video, nigga? That was before all of this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's nothing new, but it probably became a requirement, and that's what pissed a lot of rappers off. Because now your record label is like, make this. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Like who really hates women shaking asses? Really, it was like
that was going to be another question too. Like, Dave, I'm with you,
really,
but I'm not with you. Like, you took it too far, nigga. We should let you just
wait. You tired of this?
Right?
Are you really tired of this?
But Vague, that's a great point because I'll never forget. I had Omar Tyree, who's an author, up at the station once, and he was saying how when those Zane sex books was out, if y'all remember that chick Zane who was writing all the sex books, and he was saying now his company wants him to write books about, more sexual stuff. And he did this book called Sweet St. Louis about relationships. But it was just like a testament of just like, he was just like, kill the record industry and the book industry the same. Like whatever's the new hot shit and what's selling, that's what your publisher is going to want you to write. That's what your record label is going to want you to do. So to your point, Vague, yeah, it probably was like, okay, Daylight, we can't get no chicks in the video, or we can't do X, Y, and Z to help try to sell some records around here, somewhere like that. Bro, you're a huge De La fan. I know Stakes is High is one of your favorite albums. How did you feel about the split? Did you see it was a split happening? How did it affect you and your crew? Did it cause a rift down the middle?
Yeah, so I was kind of like in the middle. Like, for one, I was a huge De La fan, but also I didn't like when people diss Big. So it was kind of like damn, like what, like, because the Versace, that part I just thought of Biggie, like that was who you talking about, it seemed like to me, and I was just like, you know what I mean? So I was kind of like torn. And as far as like people I was around, like, man, and I know y'all can attest to this, it's nothing worse than like a real underground chew stick nigga.
That nigga said the chew stick nigga.
Yo, them niggas are crazy. Like, yo, listen, man. You know what I'm talking about, yo. When
chew stick nigga.
Yeah, when them niggas get to talking about like Huff and niggas, like, yo, they like hate them niggas like with a passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I was, around different groups of people and who had different views on it. So it was just, I was just kind of in the middle, you know what I'm saying? Like I always was like this. I like what I like, you know what I'm saying? If it's, the only bias I really had was against Tupac because he was just dissing all my favorite artists. Like I was like, fuck that nigga. Like I will never, you know what I'm saying? Back then I was like, I'm not listening to this boy. Like it took me a while, you know what I mean? And I'm just being honest. But the split, I'm thinking about what I was listening to and some of the stuff I mentioned. I was all over the place. So I feel like, I was just in the middle. Like I didn't feel super strongly either way as far as that I won't give it a chance or listen to it. You know what I'm saying? But I know some people, like I had friends that felt very strongly about it. You know what I'm saying? And some old heads that, you gotta hear some of the stuff these dudes say about like the more mainstream acts. Like they hate them niggas, man. So I was around both of them. You know what I mean? So I was just kind of in the middle, just kind of doing my thing. You know what I mean? But I was also rapping at the time, and I was young and impressionable. So some of these artists had a a effect on the way we rapped. I was in a group the way we rapped. You know what I'm saying? Mainly Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I was kind of in the middle for real.
All right, Brian. What about you?
Honestly, like the one thing I think when you look at 96, especially compared to 97, and I think my opinion falls in line with what everyone's talking. I was in the middle. And I think when you look at 96, it was probably the easiest time to be in the middle. You know, you talk about on one side, you know, you got the De La's, you got you got the J. Rules, you got the Roots, or whatever. And then on the other side, you got the Biggies, you got the Nas's, or whatever. And you think about what's the common denominator, and that's Primo. Primo's doing stuff with all of those guys. So no matter where you felt, no matter where you fell in that conversation, who you liked, you was getting the same type of production, the same type of beats or whatever. And I think honestly, after 97, I thought the shift happened in 97 after you lost Big and you lost Pop. And then really the bad boy takeover in 97, once that happened, you was on one side or the other. You go to 96, right. You go to 95, you go to 94, you could like it all. Right. And if you look at who came out in 96, there's more of a there's more of a gradual progression from one side to the other. On one side you got.
I'm just saying that this to me started in 96. The fracture hit in 97. Next year is when all hell break loose. But I felt like this was like the seeds were planted, where you got De La taking shots at them, J. Rue taking shots at them.
But to me, I always thought that especially with De La, and I said this earlier, that had always been De La's MO. You hear about what they're talking about in Stakes is High. That's no different from Me, Myself, and I. You look back at Me, Myself, and I. What do they got? They got dudes in the video that look like Run DMC. Got dudes in the video that look like LL doing the b-boy stance, doing whatever, and them saying, "Hey, that's not us." You look at Ego Tripping. They got the people in the high price hotel, in the hot tub, the girls shaking, and that's not them. And then
I just never took those things as like shots, though. It's a. And again, maybe I need to go back and look at it again, but I just never, when I heard Stakes is High, I didn't have to go back and be like, wait a second, what did they say? Or, I highly doubt De La was really dissing Run or LL. Yeah, no. Where it's like, they're dissing Biggie. They are dissing everything that's going on.
I think with Stakes is High was probably as close as they came to naming names. Whereas it was it was more implied in the first couple of albums, whereas, all right, now we tired of Versace glasses, and there's only one rapper out here wearing Versace glasses in all of the videos, so who they're talking about. Whereas it was kind of implied, you got a dude in a tracksuit with a Kangol hat on. All right, that could be LL, but that could be anybody.
See, I think, well, again, for me, it's hard because even in those days, rappers are the most sensitive motherfuckers walking the planet Earth. You know what I mean? So if somebody says, I'm sick of that nigga on Twitter with the big beard who wear polo all the fucking time, I'm going to assume you're talking about me. You know what I mean? It's not... Stop
reading my tweets. No, I'm just joking.
So to me, even if it was implied, everybody always loved De La. I've never heard of De La having beef with anybody. So I feel like if Run DMC saw the Me, Myself, and I video, or LL saw it, or whoever saw it, there would have been words that were said about De La. You know what I mean? Whereas I felt like with this one, it was just it was shots. But Veg, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I understand what Brown is saying, because it's true, right? They always were anti-establishment, sort of like Outkast before Outkast, right? As far as the name and the definition behind it. But to your point, Stakes is High was no longer just that. They were naming things that were synonymous with a particular rapper and his crew and his record label. And in a lot of ways, I found, and I love De La, I was still a fan, so they didn't upset me really like that. I just put them in a category. Y'all the let out kings. Y'all the niggas outside the club who come to the club to stand outside and watch us go home with the shorties. Like, who wants to be that?
The let out kings.
But it's the let out kings. But we used to call, they my friends too. We used to call them niggas. We used to call them niggas the let out kings because you never see them in the club. But as soon as we walk outside, you're like, damn, did y'all just get here? Like at the end.
Moment of transparency. I was a let out king. I'm not gonna lie. That was absolutely me. I can tell you what the parking lot of many nice clubs look like. Whatever club was hot in your city, I'll tell you how the parking lot looked.
Look, I even got a story from maybe not 96, maybe one 97. Another Dream nightclub story. So we had been there frequently. My man, he was there probably every weekend, so he knew like the bouncers or whatever. So the next time we went, he was like, yo, we get VIP. I know the bouncer at the door. We can walk right through the front, right? So I'm like, cool, shit, we don't have to wait in line. So we're walking to the front. You know how that feels sometimes, especially when you're young. Like, yeah, y'all niggas wait. We getting in. And who's on the goddamn regular line but Dave? And you know what I thought? Like, oh, you tired, huh? Yes.
Word.
On the regular lines. In some ways, I felt kind of disrespected. I was like, y'all don't see True going? Or like, why is he waiting? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then after a while, I was just like, Brooklyn nigga. Like, I'm still bumping your album though.
What were you gonna say, JR?
Oh no, because I got to tell you, I got a dip. So
yeah.
So this is dope. Check out the R&B raps, all that good stuff. But yeah, I got a dip. I got to work early in the morning. So
I understand, good brother. I appreciate you,
all right,
bro.
y'all.
All right, bro.
All right, so we got that out the way with all the hoopla with the split. 97, we'll talk more, like Brown said, just about, to me, because that's where it really crumbled apart. You know what I mean? In 97. But I want to jump ahead of that. Tell me this. Me and my it was this guy Manny who worked at Sony, and me and him would talk all the time. And we were talking about the Fugees score. And he was just like, yo, Kill, man, I'm so glad, we kind of held this and waited on it. It just felt like it's the right time. Like we dropped it at the right time. So not saying the Dave line of I'm sick of asses and all that, but we were just talking about how we didn't think if the score would have dropped to 95, it would have blew like it did. You know what I mean? And his belief was, coming from an industry standpoint, was it seems like people are not tired of, but maybe the gun clapper, all the violence, like people kind of need a break from that. Because once we get to 97, we know Bad Boy is running the next 2 to 3 years. So, do y'all think like that's true? Did you feel like that this was the perfect time? Do you think if the Fugees would have dropped, Killing Me Softly and Fuji Like, because it's a lot of singing, you know what I mean? So 95, we're knee deep in fatigues and blunts and Heinekens. Do you feel like that was the perfect time for the score to drop? Because the score was so something like 11 million, 12 million copies, like it was everywhere, So Veg, what do you think?
I think so, but I think it's one of those things you can't plan. You know what I'm saying? I think it just happened at the right time. That first album didn't really do anything. We all liked the Vocab remix. I think Salam Remy produced that.
Right. That wasn't even on the first album.
It wasn't even on there. But I think that got them some recognition. So by the time, we heard Fuji La, which was like a club hit. They were playing that joint in the club like crazy. Even the Ready or Not joint, just because of the singing. I think everybody was doing something similar, right? If they had 1 or 2 tracks like that, it was just all hitting at the same time. And it wasn't just Bad Boy, it was Jay-Z, it was Nas, it was Redman, Pick It Up. Like they were playing that in the club. You know what I'm saying? So it was all these records that kind of went with the club vibe, but Fugees just had a secret weapon, which was the fact that Lauryn Hill could sing. And Killing Me Softly, you talk about a club banger that doesn't feel like it should even be played in the club to dance. The ladies loved it, and Little Kim and Foxy. So it was just like, it was a perfect storm of releases anyway. And maybe they would have missed the boat, right? If they would have came out too early, and it would have been a cool album in '95. But '96 was the perfect time.
Right. What you think, Brown?
I think Fugees I just thought was it was the perfect blend, because I think the talk about the Fugees before then was, one, it was just a matter of time before that Lauren, you were just biding time before that Lauren solo joint came. It was Lauren and two other guys. That's what the Fugees were, coming up until then. And I thought, first, when I first heard Fugees, I'm like, okay, Wyclef stepped his game up. Pras stepped his game. All right, they flowing. And you really saw that Lauryn Hill, you really got to see Lauryn Hill sing. You're hearing her on the hook, and you're like, okay, this doesn't sound like anything else that's on the radio right now. There's nothing else sounding like them. Like, we've seen the two guys and the girl, group before, but they're taking it to another level. And maybe it was timing. You look at that, because at that point, the West Coast had their sound. They was pretty much doing one thing. The East Coast was kind of circling the wagons. It was like, you had Big, you had Junior Mafia's getting ready to come out. So that sound was really starting to take form. And Fugees come out with something that's completely different from all of that. So if it's a matter of timing, and it was the perfect storm. The perfect storm. And that CD was just so, once it came out, you were just like, all right, like, you couldn't sleep on Wyclef anymore. You couldn't sleep on Pras anymore. Like, these dudes actually got a little bit of skill to them. Yeah. Whereas, after the first album, you thought them dudes was not good,
Right. I feel you. Bro, what about you?
I think it was just I don't want to say a breath of fresh air. It was just something. It was something different. You know what I'm saying? And then the Lauren aspect of it made it unique. You know what I'm saying? It made it more people listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Because she was also singing, and you know what I'm saying? It was just a unique thing, and it was very accessible to the masses. You know what I mean? And it's, when you listen to it, it's a different type of album. It's like, what's a good word? It's like eclectic a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like the songs are not the norm of what, like, you looking at these albums that we listed for the year. Like, this album was very different from almost all of those albums. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think it was like, it was refreshing, you know what I mean? And it was the start of superstardom for Lauren, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was ready for that solo album after that, you know what I'm saying? So it was, and it sold like crazy.
One of the things at the station, Titan, he used to work at a Metro, which was a record store in Baltimore, and he was saying how everybody was coming in, they wanted Killing Me Softly, but there wasn't a single for it, so niggas would just buy the whole album, so he was like, yo, this Killing Me Softly is helping this album sell zillions of records, because everybody is coming in to, and they just want to buy the single, but there is no single, so they just end up buying the whole album. You know what I mean? So, which may have been a marketing, ploy on their end of, we ain't even gonna drop this as a single and just, hope that this just pushes the numbers up. And then too, the video for Killing Me Softly was dope too, with the whole Cooley High feel to it, too. So also their visuals I thought was real dope. Vague, you talked about Pac dropping 2 albums. This is the year that we sadly lost Pac too. So, I'm definitely going to start with you, because I don't think me and Brown and Rel were the biggest Pac fans, but, how did that affect you, in losing Pac?
It was weird because like Machiavelli dropped after he died, and I remember I heard I Ain't Mad at You right around the time he got shot, and it was eerie. You know what I'm saying? Just to hear him kind of
the video was eerie.
Right.
The video was eerie as hell.
And he was alive to film it. That's what makes it crazy. You know, you see him in heaven, and he's already passed. But I remember, like, when I heard that, when I heard he got shot. Actually, no, when I heard he died. I remember I was in the club in B-More, and the DJ said it. But, you know, DJ was wild disrespectful because it's the East Coast. So he just straight up like, yeah, they got him. And you're like,
man,
I don't know if we should celebrate that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I wanted that to be the outcome, you know?
Yeah, they got him.
Oh, God damn.
Yeah, he was wild. Like, he was the only one that felt like that. What'd you say?
Did he at least stop the record to say it?
Oh, yeah, he did. For 2 seconds. And then he was like,
hey, y'all, Tupac dead.
Right.
All right, then, let's keep going.
Back to it. But what he didn't realize is the party had stopped when he said that. And this was the East Coast. And I just remember, like, me and my friends just kind of talking about it, like in the party, like, damn, it's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? That he died. Because you started to think, like, he was invincible down there, right? And got shot, like, so many times. Can't, you know, get better, come out, make songs about it. But it was like, nah, not this time. It was a reality. But what was crazy was, you know, I was never like a huge Pac fan. I always liked Pac, but it was always singles here and there and songs that I liked. And, you know, it wasn't until like Me Against the World, but especially when I heard All Eyes on Me, because it was like his production stepped up a notch between Daz and Dre. And forget about it once I heard Machiavelli. So it was crazy because when you see all this music and all this battles and dissing each other and the whole quote East Coast West Coast thing, for it to kind of come down to that, and seeing Big talk about it, you know, it was just kind of crazy because it felt like it was going too far when it came to the competition. You know, like, nah, we're supposed to diss each other. We're not actually supposed to kill each other. You know, at least at the time that's what we thought. So.
Yeah, and it's funny with me, again, I wasn't the biggest Pac fan, but anytime anybody dies in hip hop, you know, I'm definitely, you know, crushed by it. And I think Vague, I'm sure maybe everybody else, I felt like everybody felt the same. Like, Pac got shot, okay, whatever. Like, he'll be back. Like, same shit, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's to him getting shot now, I think it's like 5 to 6 days later is when he passed away. And it was just really like, oh shit moment. Like, damn, you know, and again, we don't have the information that we have now. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to like wipe my memory clean of Orlando Brown and knowing, you know, all that stuff. At that time, it was just Pac got shot, he got killed. Like, oh shit, is this something Big did? Was this something with the, you know, East Coast, West Coast thing? Right. So it wasn't a lot of information out at that time. And it was just like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, cause I used to like Pac. I loved the whole Brenda Got a Baby Pac and, you know, my homies called Pac. It was only when that nigga came back with Death Row when I was like on some old funk Pac type shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like, damn, like, yo, this is fucked up, you know, but I've still never bounced back and just been like, oh yeah, I love Pac when he was alive. No, I'm not that nigga. Like, I'm not gonna try to change the narrative now that he's dead. And be like, I loved every Pac song. Like, fuck no, I didn't. So,
right. And look, real quick, I had a homie from Brooklyn who preferred Pac over Big.
Wow.
And I used to be
Here's
like, what?
Here's the crazy thing, bro. I had a lot of niggas in Philly who preferred Pac over Big. A lot of people prefer Pac over Big. So again, you know, this wasn't just like some old East Coast, West Coast thing, because a lot of people, I was shocked that Philly was riding with Pac. And I'm like, what? Like, okay. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But, you know, for me, it was an East Coast, West Coast thing. Because shit, I ain't from Brooklyn. You know, I mean, I love Big, but it was like, these niggas are dissing the whole East Coast, you know? And again, here's the thing. Again, this is where, like Brown said earlier, I fell for the banana in the tailpipe, because were they really dissing the whole East Coast? You know what I mean? No, they weren't. You know what I mean? But the media, the vibes, all of that was East versus West, East versus West, East versus West. So, and truth be told, I didn't listen to any fucking music, so I don't know what the fuck they was dissing. They could have just been like, we love everybody, but Biggie. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the fuck they were saying.
But people was telling you that they was dissing the East Coast, and you were just like, yeah, you know what?
Right. So it's just like, okay, this is an East Coast, West Coast war. So we gonna say that?
When you look at it in hindsight and you listen to like interviews with Ice Cube, they were really talking about New York media and radio. Right, because they started having a lot of biases towards, the West and the South trying to come up and all of that. So they're going to diss the East Coast, and we think they talking to us as fans and they talking to the artists we love, but they're really targeting the lack of exposure, even though we were still exposed, but the lack of exposure, the fans in New York in particular were getting to their music, especially on the radio. And I didn't look at it like that, right? Because back then I'm just hearing you talking about, riot, not rally. I'm like, what? Like, you comparing fucking marches? Like it was just stupid. So
right. What about you? What were you feeling when Pac passed?
I felt like that was the first thing that happened that I kind of felt was gonna happen, like what I didn't want to happen with the East Coast, West Coast thing. Like, and I felt for a long time, like, one of the reasons why I didn't mess with Pac like that, 'cause I felt like, I know the media putting that out there like that, and we ate it up, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like he was irresponsible a little bit in his approach and what he was doing. Like, I just felt like he held some blame and taking it too far. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. I just was like, damn, like, and I remember seeing a interview with Shock G, and he was just talking about like how disappointed and disturbed he was with Death Row Pac. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he knows him personally. Like, he know, you know what I mean? He was like, and I just felt like it was just a dangerous game they was playing, man. I was like, and that was like the first big thing that happened. I was like, shit, like, and then we all know what happened after that. Like, so I was upset that he got killed, like, because I didn't want that to happen to him, and I didn't want that to be something that came from that moment in time, and that, you know what I'm saying, like, we ain't gonna never forget that. And that's what came out of all of that, was two of our favorites getting killed, you know what I'm saying? And like, it just was whack, you know what I'm saying? It was whack to me, and I didn't feel good about it at all.
Let me ask you this, because, and again, I know we're talking about what we knew then. From what I've understood now from some of my peoples out west, was like, Pac, this wasn't even about the East West Coast shit. This was more so about Pac trying to be down in some gang shit when he shouldn't have been doing no gang shit type thing. And again, I know we're just talking about, we didn't know this back in 96 when it happened, but it's like, it's almost just like, us thinking it was some East Coast, West Coast shit. And truth be told, it was really some gang shit.
Well, him being killed?
Yeah, him being killed by trying to be down with the Bloods and trying to do gang shit, and nigga, you not gang related almost. So it's like, that's really on some shit. And again, it's just what I'm hearing from West Coast niggas, is that's
correct.
We got Pac killed, not no East West Coast shit.
That's correct, but that's correct. And you ever heard a person say you can't play boxing? When they talk about this ain't no sport. Like, you boxing, you can't play. Gang banging, you can't play that shit. You can't, like, that shit is a lifestyle, and he got himself in, that's what got him killed. But I'm talking about the overall
Oh yeah. Overall,
Yeah, the overall,
where he took it.
Like he didn't get killed because of the East Coast West Coast thing, but him being killed did not help that at all. It made it worse. You know what I'm saying? Because now, can Big step foot in California? No, we found out no. You feel what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And again, this is just from what we know now.
Well, we know now, yeah. Back then, Hindsight
it definitely felt like that.
Hindsight is 2020, so knowing more now. But yeah, it just was, the whole landscape of it all was just bad. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Right. Brown, what about you? When Pac passed, where were you at mentally? Where was your head at?
Honestly, I felt like probably, and this is just opinion, but I thought probably even more than Big that Pac played with fire, with the whole flirting with. Yeah, I'm saying it, understanding that Big had an album called, Ready to Die, but Pac was the one. Pac was the one who was always talking about, hey, if I die, I already got 6 albums recorded. And I remember sitting here and I'm like, yo, who does it? Like, yo, this dude is crazy. As much as I had bought into East Coast, West Coast, when Pac was saying stuff like that, I'm like, oh, that should show you that dude is off. Like, he went out there and recorded 6 more albums just in case he dies. And then and I remember just, I was always somebody who jumped into the whole, I was ready to debate somebody. Somebody want to talk about who was better, Biggie and Pac, and I jumped right into it. And I felt like I had spent the whole summer, I talked about, staying in Atlanta, arguing with my cousins, because all my cousins were big Pac fans. And, they was playing Hit 'Em Up all summer. And I'm like, yo, this is not lyrics. Like, y'all talk about Pac the lyrics, and all he's just saying is, I had sex with your wife. That's not, there's nothing deep about that. It is what it is. And, I'm still down there, and I'm in the South, and I'm still playing Get Money Remix. I'm playing, Junior Mafia. I'm playing Biggie or whatever. And I'm like, oh, Big is that dude. But so when he got shot, I'm thinking the same thing the rest of y'all think. Like, again? It's like, this is.
It felt like Ja Morant. Like, again, this nigga done got fucking caught with a gun. Again, nigga?
And it's like this is the image. This is the image that he portrayed himself. Like, he's that dude. And he's always, you think about when he got shot, a couple of weeks before was the MTV Awards. And he's up there with the big security guards and the big, what do you call it? The walkie-talkies. Like, they didn't even have cell phones. They were talking about, me and my crew, we all got walkie-talkies. So if somebody from New York want to step to us while we out here, we just gonna get over there. We gonna squash it real quick. We gonna handle our business. Like everything about Pac was about instigating something. So when he got shot in Vegas, you were just like, you heard it and you were just like, oh wow, shocker, Pac got shot. Who's surprised by that? But then when he died, he was like, okay, now it's not funny. Now it's not, it's not a game. It's not funny. And you didn't know where to go from here. Like, there had been times when, we had lost rappers in the past, but not like this. Where it's like, okay, where do you go from here? What happens now? Pac is gone. Does this now mean East Coast people can't go to the West Coast? It's like, how do you lose Pac and not think Biggie has something to do with it? That's the natural progression. That's what you are automatically gonna think. And people, and it was like, you lose Pac, and Biggie has a song called "Who Shot You," and given the story behind who shot. We understand when it was written. It wasn't necessarily a dig at Pac, but the fact still remains: Pac got shot, and his biggest rival has a song called "Who Shot You." So are they going? Is it going to come back on Big? Are we going to be able to rise above this? Are we going to get past this? How do we get past this? And then you see 6 months later, you lose Big.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. I definitely see what you're saying because again, we know more now. But like you said at that time, if two people are beefing and one of them dies, you just instantly gravitate to the person who they're beefing with. You know, and even if like Slim Charles, one of my favorite lines from The Wire, if it's a lie, we fight on that lie, but we gotta fight. You know what I mean? So it kind of was like, you know, damn, did Biggie have anything to do with this? And again, for people watching, this is 96. The internet is just starting. This is when you still couldn't even be on the phone and be online at the same time, you know? So it's not like we was just able to jump on Google or Media Takeout or Twitter and see this stuff. Like, you know, we was back in the Stone Ages where we had to wait for magazine articles to be written and, you know, get any type of news reporting that we could. So yeah, definitely a fucked up year and having to lose Pac. And I feel like 96 is, again, like I said, the beginning of the crack that is going to come in 97. You know, what's to come with that. Definitely a dope show. Brown, let them know where they can get at you, what you cooking up, your shows, everything that you got going on, where they can hear everything that you're doing.
Well, look, all you got to do is follow Kill on Twitter, and then you'll find me and all of his mentions sticking up for Cool Mo D and other 80s rappers, you know. But you can follow me on Twitter, JLB from DVM. You can also check me out on PhillyGoFlow.com. That's throwback hip hop and R&B for free, 24 hours a day. Every Fridays in the 90s, where we do 90s hip hop, 90s R&B all day long, including nothing but 4 hours of 90s hip hop starting at 7 o'clock. So all the songs I used to record on the radio off Kill's show back on 88.9 on the radio, I used to record it on my tapes. I dump all those out every Friday night for Fridays in the 90s. So PhillyGoFlow.com. Follow me on Twitter, JLB from DVM.
All right, no doubt. Rel, the album's coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. August 25th. Caught in the moment. Finally, man. It's a wild process.
Feeling the artwork.
Oh yeah. It's out. I'm midnight. I'm gonna put a single out. So look for that in a few minutes. But yeah, Caught in the Moment. Executive produced by Kill. It's a vibe. Give it a chance. You know what I'm saying? When you in your car, you working out, whatever, give it a listen. You won't be disappointed. So August 25th, Caught in the Moment. Jarrell, LKP.
All right. Greg, where can they get at you, good brother?
All right, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Spill, TikTok, and then probably everywhere else at Vegas World INC. And you can check out my podcast, which is a weekly hip hop news podcast called Hip Hop Now Podcast, which is not only available on your favorite podcasting platforms, but also right here on YouTube.
All right. Y'all already know what it is with me, Kill 889, Twitter, IG. I talked about D'Alessandro's. It's a spot called Cafe Carmelo. Yo. It's some shorty on IG. Her name is like Clay Matthews. I think it's like Clay in the City. I can't remember Rel. I don't know if you remember shorty. But me and Rel saw it, and she had a top 5 spots in Philly. And they were all our top spots. It was Max's, D'Alessandro's, Angelo's, and John Rose Pork. But then her number 1 was Cafe Carmela. And me and Rel was like, yo, I ain't never heard of that shit before. So I was like, fuck it, I'm in Philly. Let me go try it. And it's in the Northeast. Ain't really shit good in the Northeast of Philadelphia. It really isn't. Like, you know, back in the day, it was Franklin Mills Mall, and that was about it. And nobody goes there anymore. So there's nothing good in the Northeast. I went to Cafe Carmela. Let me explain something. I've never done this before. I went and got a cheesesteak. They for some reason after COVID, a lot of spots in Philly don't put ketchup and mayo on for you. So they give it to you on the side, which I fucking hate. Because how am I supposed to put mayo on the roll when everything is already baked into it? So this cheesesteak was so fucking good without ketchup and mayonnaise that I went back and got it a second fucking day. I have never gone to a cheesesteak spot 2 days fucking row and ate the cheesesteak without ketchup or mayo. That's a dry ass. Somewhere else, that's a dry ass cheesesteak. Like, I can't even eat that. Yo, I ate it with no fucking problem. Cafe Carmela is in my top 5. D'Alessandro's is now number 5. Cafe Carmelo is D'Alessandro's is on the tippy toe.
I'm googling this right now.
Hold on, what's 4?
John's Roast Pork is 1. Mama's is still 2. Angelo's, it's either Angelo's or Cafe Carmela. Like, here's the thing: John Roast Pork, Cafe Carmela, and Angelo's, they're all like the same. Like, you can't go wrong with any 3 of those spots. So they're damn near interchangeable. You can put them anywhere. Mama's is the only spot that stays at number 2 because it's different from everything else. And then I'll keep D'Alessandro's at number 5. Truth be told, I'll probably still send people to D'Alessandro's unless you want to take that ride all the way up to the Northeast. You know what I mean? But yeah, Cafe Carmela. So yeah. Philadelphia Steak Life. For people don't know me, Rel and Gadget have a cheesesteak show, Philadelphia Steak Life. We go anywhere that people claim they got dope cheesesteaks and we taste them. Cafe Carmela, man. Shit is great, man. Shit is fucking great. So,
damn. Okay. I gotta go. I gotta hit that.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, good people. I'll check y'all next week.